club where we meet every week to discuss about 100 pages of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series. I'm James.
I'm James.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Joel.
And today we are going over Jon 6 to Sansa 6. This was a bit more than 100 pages because it is page 736 to 851 if you're reading along in the mass market paperback versions like we all are.
I do not look good in this shirt. What? Just FYI.
It's the green.
It's very boxy.
Wildfire.
It's a little boxy, but
It's very
I think
boxy.
you're all right.
Okay.
Are you boxy?
What was that?
What? That's an old.
Jesus.
What is that?
Christ. I get what you're doing.
It's an old like.
That's like an old. What the fuck?
It's not even
Joel?
like you can't even say YouTuber.
It's like a 4chan meme.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jesus
boxy,
Christ.
that like chick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Wow. Okay.
You know, the only reason I know that is because
We're gonna-
a little bit ago, Joel made a reference to her, and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I looked her up, and was like, "Okay." And so that was filed away in my brain.
Oh yeah. I guess I'm a big boxy fan.
Yeah, you're a boxy enthusiast. Today, aside from talking about boxing, we're going to talk about Song of Ice and Fire. And we are wrapping up Clash of Kings almost. It's the penultimate episode, as Joel so eloquently stated in his tweet. about the
Appropriately
sequel.
enough, discussing Blackwater.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, half of it.
Half of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna cliffhanger y'all.
Yeah. I kind of wish we had gotten it all in one, but whatever. It's all good.
I was sad that the last chapter we had to read was that Sansa chapter because I had to like blow through it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
wanted
I
to
don't-
really
I-
savor
yeah.
it
We all
because it's a
have a-
good one.
Bad
That's a good
habit
one.
of reading the morning.
I
of.
read the day of.
Yeah. I hope you guys are enjoying. Oh, hey, Jackson's calling you Russell. Fun fact: his name's not Russell.
Nope.
It's James Gressel.
Yep.
But we call him Gressel because I'm a dick about my first name, and I demand to be the only James. Mm-hmm. Even his wife
Wow.
calls him Gressel. It's pretty funny.
She did that before. She did do that before.
Well, still, it's pretty funny. Any talk? Any talk before we get started?
We
think
got a
we
lot
should
to get
start,
through. Let's
and
get
it's
into
Super Bowl
it.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So
So
if
much
you care about
shit.
that, you might want to
Is
get.
the game
We're gonna miss the
started?
beginning. Yeah.
cool?
It starts at
Whatever.
3:30.
That's cool
Our
that
time.
people are doing this instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yes, but in case you're interested in it, we will try to get through it. We'll definitely be done by the time Lady Gaga does something outrageous during halftime.
Something that'll go viral because it'll be like provocative.
Show me your left shark, Lady Gaga.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. On to Jon 6. This is the chapter in which they climb up a mountain and they find Ygritte, and Jon decides not to kill her and he lets her go. That was my chapter summary.
Great.
Yeah.
Pretty much it.
Loved it.
Yeah. Wait, what page is that?
This is 736.
Got it. Thank you.
In the mass market paperback. Things are really picking up with Jon, and I think that the reason for that is Qhorin Halfhand.
Oh yeah.
We were talking a little bit off mic before we started while we were setting up about how Qhorin and his men are the Night's Watch as it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they
right.
are. Go
They-
ahead.
They each have like special skills,
Mm-hmm.
and they work together.
And they will find you, Mance Raider.
Yeah.
Yeah, Qhorin is savvy and disciplined. We get talk in this Jon chapter and the next Jon chapter about discipline and the importance of that. And I like that he is a commander who gives orders, they are followed, and the orders come from a place of wisdom and experience. Like they're just working efficiently.
I want to point out on the top of 738 a great use of language that I think really illustrates the point that this is the Black Brothers as they should be. This is the first full paragraph of 738. The Black Brothers move through black shadows amidst black rocks, working their way up a steep, twisting trail as their breath frosted in the black air. The repetition of the word black. Really interesting when George uses repetition. He's obviously he's obviously a verbose writer. He's not terse in any way. But when he falls back on repetition, it's always for a reason. And I think here, with Jon, through Jon's point of view, emphasizing the word black is driving that point home of this is the Night's Watch as it should be. They are finally the Black Brothers of legend, of reputation, and I think that this is a really striking way of hitting that point.
I think it's.
Oh, go ahead.
I think it's telling that it's not only how they are working, but where they are. That's the dream that Jon had of the Night's Watch. The paragraph after that talks about the Frostfangs and how they are just dangerous and unforgiving to men. And I love that paragraph too, the way it says, "The wind cut like a knife up here and shrilled in the light like a mother mourning her slain children." And the paragraph after that says that, "Yet Jon Snow was not sorry he had come." He is living out the epic qualities of the Night's Watch that he had been looking for. But I think now, having trained with the Night's Watch and not just come in and gone on a ranging, he understands the stakes. So I think this is the perfect situation for Jon to be in and to learn.
Yeah, a lot of nature talk in that paragraph, as Gressel always points out. Jon's POVs tend to reflect on the natural wonders around him, and that's abundant in this paragraph full of a mountain meadow full of autumn wildflowers, blue cold snaps and bright scarlet frost fires, and stands of piper's grass. Just all these things that I don't know what the hell they are, but they sound pretty.
Yeah, well, it's also the first time we see them wearing black making sense. Like, every other time leading up to this, we've been like, why do they bother wearing black? Because it seems dumb for them to be venturing out into snow and ice wearing black where they're so visible. But here it's like, oh, I get it. It is the first time it's made sense and hasn't seemed like an arbitrary choice.
Yeah, this is the Night's Watch of Benjen Stark.
Yeah.
And I think it's no coincidence that like this is when Jon. I think this is the turning point of when Jon's storyline goes from kind of meh to really good.
Is this Jon's first kill?
Yes,
This is the first-
which surprised me as well.
Yeah.
His first kill of
Ever.
living men.
A
Yes.
living man,
Oh, yep.
yes. Okay, good call.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in
Yeah.
his life, this is his first kill.
I'm excited John's finally getting interesting. John's not my favorite. Like, as a character, I like Jon, but the Jon chapters I get very fidgety and have a hard time with.
I like afterward, Jon could admire the courage of the wildling who reached first for his horn instead of his blade.
I love that.
Just more in
Yeah.
the mindset of the Night's Watch. He's like, oh, this guy, and maybe that's him reflecting on the fact that, oh, they're not so much different than us, because that's something that he would hope a Night's Watchman would do. Although he does freeze when he sees that it's a girl.
Yeah.
I think that's. I think a lot of that comes from his highborn upbringing. I think this is him being trained by Sir Roderick to uphold kind of a lordly or knightly set of values. You know, we talk a lot, especially in Sansa chapters, about, you know, what a true knight is. And I think the closest you're going to get is Sir Roderick. And the fact that that was Jon's, you know, teacher growing up, and Ned, obviously, too, with this huge sense of honor. That's why I think Jon balks at it being a girl. I don't know if we ever find out where Corran came from, but so many of the Night's Watch come from humble backgrounds where killing because you have to kill regardless of gender isn't an issue. And I think that the hesitation here with Jon comes from his background.
Yeah, and lack of experience. If these, you know, these are the men who have been on ranging so many times, they know that gender doesn't mean anything in wildling culture, or it means less. So I think that they're more used to killing women spearwives.
Yeah, knowing that they're actually dangerous. You were talking before we started about how, you know, when he has Ygritte and he has the dagger to her throat, something about her made him think of Arya.
Yeah, I noticed this. We talked. I think it came up a little bit. It might have been in the chat, but it came up a little bit last time we had a Jon chapter. The allegedly abandoned plot line of Jon and Arya being a romantic item, and this
In a love triangle with Tyrion.
Tyrion being the other one.
Yeah.
That's
right. Well, I
What
think
the-
that's gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I wonder.
Some people really believe.
I wonder at what point George abandoned that storyline, because it is interesting that Arya comes up here, and I think a couple times in this first encounter with underneath all, this is on 744, underneath all of her furs, she could be as skinny as Arya. You know, obviously, like, Ygritte's martial prowess and you know, non-normative gender habits remind him of Arya, and the mentions here of Arya, I'm curious when George abandoned that, or if he 100% has.
Yeah.
Because book Arya is different than show Arya, and yes, she's a lot younger, I understand that, okay? Nobody point that out in the chat. But things are different in this world, and obviously they're going to be older when they reunite, if they reunite. Yeah, but, you know, I'm just curious. I'm just curious to see, especially now that so much of the story has been picked to death apart on the internet by people who are much more meticulous than us, if George is going to do something to kind of bring his story back to being surprising.
Yeah.
And if something like that could be that. This, you know, it could be nothing. It could be remnants of something. It could just be that Jon has a brotherly fondness for Arya and he's missing her. But
I kind of see it as like, so Arya, everyone says that she reminds them of Lyanna. And there's like such parallels there, like they're really connected. And I really like the idea of Jon subconsciously wanting a woman like his mom, even though he doesn't know who his mom is.
She does get compared
That's
to
the thing.
Lyanna a lot, too.
That's the thing
Yeah.
is like men, like, I don't know, subconsciously date their mom. I don't know.
it's just an Oedipal thing.
If you want to get into like weird shit like that, but I like the idea of George trying to hint at that, but he doesn't have a reference point for Lyanna, but Arya.
Beyond Arya.
But Arya is kind of a.
That's cool.
So maybe like it's a subconscious mommy thing.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, okay. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
That's probably more likely than George abandoned a plot and then went back to it.
Who knows?
One of the things. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, he runs into Ygritte, and when he gives her his name, she says an evil name. What's that all about?
What, Jon Snow?
I'm Jon Snow. She flinched. An evil name.
Snow, I imagine.
Are the wildlings aware that that's a bastard name?
I probably.
Probably,
I mean,
yeah.
they know the Stark in Winterfell, but I think they also associate Snow with like the others, like ice and all these
Maybe
things.
they should move fucking south.
Well,
then.
they're trying.
Does it also like have to do with the story she tells him? Because wouldn't the baby in that be a snow?
Oh, be a snow,
and
technically.
it causes all kinds of.
And
Sure.
she calls it the song of the Winter Rose.
Right?
I
noted that.
That's what she's talking about there.
Yeah.
Bale the Bard,
Yeah.
which is very interesting and very I don't know, not subtle.
No.
It's very overt that this is obviously what happens with Bran and Rickon. The fact that they had been in Winterfell the whole time, hiding with the dead beneath the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of
I didn't pick up on that.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Like a giant
Yeah.
star.
we get a lot of foreshadowing that it's possible to hide in the crypts of Winterfell.
There's
the
a-
idea of romance between Stark and Free Folk, or Snow and Free Folk, and the mention of someone, probably a Bolton, skinning a Stark.
Yeah. The
Oh, yeah.
skinning. There's a lot of foreshadowing in the tale of Bale the Bard.
There's a lot.
Yeah, when
Which
Lord
we
Stark
won't get into everything.
When Lord Stark returned from the battle and his mother saw Bale's head upon his spear, she threw herself from a tower in her grief. That made me think of a Shara Dane.
Shara
I also
Dane.
think that that's the broken tower at Winterfell. That's also Bran falling from the tower, and the fact that this tower was abandoned at Winterfell for a reason that I don't think we know. Hey, Lucy. There's also, to Jon's name being an evil name, there's the Night's King potentially being, as Javier pointed out in the chat, there's the Night's King potentially being a bastard brother of the King of the North, which would be a Snow. But, in any case, I really like this first exchange with Ygritte, their rapport.
It's also deepening this theme that we started to get last John chapter. The tale is about it mattering where you're from and how that influences you see the world, because as the other, is it sand snake? No, it's not sand.
Stone snake.
As Stone
Not
Snake
yet.
says, their tale of that event is different. And I think we're getting to learn more that how you tell stories differently, you know, there's value in its own sake of understanding another culture, but it's also important for how the other culture sees you and maybe what your own history has not told you.
Yes. But Ygritte immediately, speaking of culture, she immediately says to burn the dead. Or it might be that you'll need those swords again.
Or just feed them to kitties.
Oh.
Feed them to the shadow cats.
Something to like put a little asterisk by for like way in the future, like forever, is the king beyond the wall in disguise as a bard.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was
It's
the
like a little
foreshadowing
guy.
that I
Yeah,
spoke
it's
of.
like a little tropey guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for when we meet Mance.
Mance is cool. Man, Mance
Book
is
Mance.
so cool.
I know.
Show Mance is fine, but a lot of wasted potential.
Yeah.
He's a sexy bard,
Um,
and they didn't do that. I wanted to see him playing some. What does he play?
Lute. I'm
Yeah.
imagining it's a lute.
I don't. Yeah.
doesn't he play? I don't know. We'll find out.
On 749, when he's hesitating with beheading Ygritte, he was his father's son, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Yep. Big.
Yeah.
Especially in a chapter where there's a couple mentions of his mother. Not only the maybe subtle mention that you pointed out, which is awesome, but there's also when he talks to Ygritte, he says who was your mother, and he says some woman, most of them are, echoing a joke. That was it Tyrion?
I think that was a Tyrion joke.
And then he also, I think it's in this chapter, he talks about he's traveling with the squad, and
Squad goals.
not squad goals, squad like,
It's been said, you've said it.
and
It is known.
he makes a joke about it, like he's coming to terms with his identity as a bastard in a way that he hasn't before, and I think that too fuels how John's chapters are improving in quality, that he's not so fixated on like, oh, I'm a sad bastard.
Yeah.
I know, it sounds like John is secure in himself as a person and is maybe now ready for a relationship. Just when someone comes into his life.
I like to. I'm sure this is intentional ? But so the story I think also could kind of mirror Rhaegar and Lyanna.
What, Vale the Bard?
Yeah, like kidnapping and the bed of roses.
Oh, yeah.
And
a
then-
bed, a bed with a pale blue
So if,
rose on it.
if you kind of look at Bale the Bard and Rhaegar's parallels, Ygritte, oh god, where is it? No, I missed it.
746?
Oh no, 747.
Okay.
You have Bale's blood in you.
Oh,
Same
yeah.
As, yeah. Same as me, but like.
Oh, yeah, so if it's analogous.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
I like that this.
go ahead.
I like that this is overall complicating that narrative of the Night's Watch, or that the Night's Watch has of the wildlings, and that the realm shares, making this more complex and the conflict between them more gray. That, you know, these people aren't all animals. They're not monsters. They're not so different.
Yeah, it's all in where you're standing, as Ygritte says.
Or where you were standing when the wall went up.
I appreciated also that just how honorable Ygritte is in her own way. Like, she doesn't try to run. She just makes one request to see if he'll come over to Mance. She's not begging. And then she's even kind of reassuring him when she realizes, like, oh, you haven't killed a woman before, have you?
I really love the way that Corin handles it, too.
Oh, then you must do what needs to be done?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
Well, even before that, like, he immediately is just like, this is a lesson for John. Because he says to Ygritte, tell me true, if I fell into the hands of your people and yielded myself, what would it win me? A slower death than elsewise. And then he says to John, and I think this is important, we have no food to feed her. nor can we spare a man to watch her. I think that this is something that Jon, this whole experience with Ygritte, right from the get-go, is something that is important to informing who Jon becomes. So, fucking Corrin is just the coolest. Yeah, do what needs to be done. Like, what a cool line.
All right, obviously Jon doesn't kill her. He says for her to go.
Yep.
And she went. And I think that we have to move on because there's a lot more to cover on this Super Bowl Sunday that I don't care about, but some of you might. This guy does.
Commercials.
Well, I don't care about the game. I want to see the Stranger Things Season 2 trailer.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? That's during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Is it during, we don't know? Just
We
sometime?
don't know. It'll be the first half. This is Sansa 5.
Sansa 4.
Sansa
we
4.
read 3 Sansa chapters. Where's Catelyn? Where's Catelyn?
Where is
Caitlin's probably already at my apartment.
So this is early Blackwater stuff, as in like the Vanguard and like the scouts are kind of starting to arrive. Lots of fire, just fire everywhere. Foreshadowing. And then she goes to Godswood. She talks to Dantos, and he's like, "Nope, can't take you yet." And then she goes up on the rooftop, and Sandor finds her, and they talk. And then she goes to bed, and she wakes up, and she's a woman. She went to bed a girl. She woke up a
Yeah.
woman. And she's terrified, and she burns everything. And then Cersei, at maybe the sweetest she is ever in the entire series. And I think even the most genuine,
Oh, 100%. I agree.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In this, because at Blackwater, she's being sarcastic and mocking to Sansa.
Yeah.
But here, I think it's legit, like, woman to woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, and I think that the clue that George uses in the text to show us that this is Cersei at her most genuine is she says it's the bottom of 759, top of 760. She says, "Wait until you birth a child, Sansa." And she's talking to her just as a woman.
Yeah.
And she refers to her as Sansa. There's no condescension. And she continues to call her Sansa and use her name more than we've seen her use throughout the next couple Sansa chapters. And I really like that. And I wonder if, in a way, and I'll put this to you, Chels, is Cersei looking for someone to talk to?
I had that thought. I think she misses being a mom because Marcella's gone.
Sure.
And I think maybe she
Talman's
sees
gone,
this moment as like, I can be kind of a mom. But then that, like, I don't know. I do agree when people say that she sees some of herself in Sansa, but I don't necessarily agree.
Uh-oh.
God damn it.
It should switch back.
Well, let's go over to OBS.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't really agree when people say she's ever, like, nice to her. I don't know. I think she's being kind here, but I think it's more like, you're going to go through what I went through, and I want to make sure you know how much it's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's a thing women do to each other. Like, I don't know, just in terms of, like, childbirth, I feel like it's always, like, it hurts so bad. And, like, women talk about how terrible their childbirth was. I don't know why. It's a weird thing. Is like, I went through this, and, like, it hurts so bad, and it's kind of like a badge of honor thing. But it scares the shit out of any other, like, person who wants to have a baby.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. I think she's kind of, like, just trying to scare her a little bit.
She's also not promising it's going to get better after that.
No.
Because, as she explains in ways that Sansa wouldn't understand, but we would, love has made her life infinitely more difficult, and if she could choose to deny it, she might. That seems to be the implication of talking about how love is a poison. And it seems like the only thing she has is that once you do have children, you will love them. Even if your husband is shitty, you'll still have kids.
Chelsea, we got a lot of people in the chat
Yeah.
asking what you think about the description of both the amount of blood and the cramps.
That's a lot. Like, that's a lot of blood for, like, a first period, especially. I don't know if it would, like, cover the bed.
I think she's exaggerating.
Yeah.
I think it's just a little bit, but it's enough.
Dude, I get stabby cramps. I like as soon as I read the description of like a stabbing in her stomach, I was like, yeah.
This is me reading as such a guy, but I got to the end of the chapter where she has it, and then I was like, oh, and then went back and underlined
really?
all
I
the
noticed-
crap stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed all her stomach's problems
Like
early
that's
on.
just what it feels like.
Okay,
I mean, it's different for every. Like, it's hard
yeah.
for me to be like, no, it's too much, or like, no, it doesn't, because like, everyone's so different. But ugh.
So, amount of blood and maybe description of cramps aside, do you think this accurately portrays the terror of a first period?
I mean, again,
Is that a
like,
scary experience the first
no.
time you? Oh, no.
No, because I knew, and I was like older.
Okay.
I was a late bloomer.
Oh.
So I was like, and it's weird because the week leading up to it, I was like, I'm gonna have my period this week. Like, I knew. It was so weird.
Ooh.
My brain was like, it's
That wasn't
time
no,
now.
That was mystical. Ooh.
Yeah, and I just like knew it was gonna happen. And I yeah. So I don't know. I think it's just different for everyone. I know some people who like, they were never told that periods were a thing, and they think that they're dying.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I think it's realistic. It could be that. And I also think like it's scary because I don't think she's necessarily scared of the period. I think
No.
she's scared because she's like, oh my god, it means I like have to have sex with John.
It's
Yeah.
a sexual violence thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Implication.
Yeah.
For what it will mean, and then there's the line of the feeling of her body betraying her
Yeah.
is just awful.
Yeah. Is the worst time for this.
I think, but from a narrative point of view, I think it's an excellent plot point for George. Like, I think that not only do we get the really good line that Cersei says later of they'll bleed out there, you'll bleed in here, but which I think is nice in its own weird way.
Yeah.
But I think that it's a great way for George to kind of keep the terror of this event on a very personal level for each of his point of view characters. Like, Sansa is so less concerned about the Battle of Blackwater because she's worried about getting essentially raped by Joffrey.
Yeah.
I think that terror is so real for her and so personal.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because she's never really experienced like a battle before,
Mm-hmm.
without that plot device, having Sansa's POVs would be less palpable. Does that make sense?
I think it also raises the stakes for the result of the battle, because
Yeah,
if
for
it goes
sure.
their way, then now all lanes are clear for the marriage to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, to wrap up, just like Cersei Sansa stuff, I do think this is Cersei at her most genuine. I don't think it's because she likes Sansa at all. I think it's because she
Sure.
misses maybe being a mom and is like, you're here, I guess. And I'll be nice, but it's not because I like you. It's just because this is making me feel feelings about
It
things that
does
have happened
seem-
to me.
Yeah, it does seem a bit like, I don't know if you've ever talked to older people who are like, oh, just really like to drive home. Well, I went through this horrible thing.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna go through it. It's gonna be awful.
Yeah.
Like
Parenting.
parenting or guys. I don't know if you've experienced older guys being like, just wait till you lose your hair. Like you'll go bald and hate it.
Nope.
I think it's more
Okay,
like
that's just me.
Cersei talking at Sansa rather than like talking to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's
does-
using her. I think she's using her.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She does also directly address her saying, oh, you're maybe a little bit stronger than I thought. And then she lies again saying, Joffrey is my king. I love Joffrey. And she's like, okay, you can just stop with the terrible lies. Also casually throwing aside, like, yeah, your sister's probably dead.
I think that was pretty good.
We can't move on without discussing
Oh,
the
no.
Sandor stuff.
Yeah, we gotta talk about
Oh, yeah.
earlier.
Sandor
We're up
stuff.
on the roof.
Dantos
Yeah.
and Sandor.
Well, I
The
don't know.
Dantos is whatever.
What's to say about Dantos? He's
Yeah.
drunk.
Dantos
Okay,
is
I've got something to say about Dantos.
All right.
Say it.
So this chapter is about how these different characters are coping with powerlessness to stop danger and pain, which is either currently happening to them or about to happen to them collectively. And Cersei is dealing with it by thinking about her children, thinking about what's going to happen, isn't really able to do much, but she can control what she can control. Dantos is getting drunk because he's not able to help Sansa. He's talking about resting his hopes on miracles happening. Like, well, maybe the ships will just, they won't even get here. Maybe they'll break up. He has no power but to wait for Littlefinger. And I think it's interesting when you contrast him, especially to the Hound, who is pretty much fine. He expects that when the siege happens, he'll fight, he'll kill, maybe die.
Yep. The like friend he mentions is Littlefinger, right? He mentions
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's clear now from this chapter that it's Littlefinger.
I think and he asked for that kiss, which is one, gross, but two, like
It's so weird.
then we get like in the next I think it's the next Sansa chapter, like the kiss on the sword from Joffrey.
Yeah.
So like it's just like she keeps, and I think that also is a way of reinforcing like the threat of sexual violence against Sansa. But
And then Sandor and her have a lot of conversation, or have a long conversation about true knighthood. And he thinks that killing is the sweetest thing there is.
do you think he's sincere in that?
I was just gonna ask that, if you think he actually believes that.
It is true.
How sober is he here?
Probably not very.
I don't think that that's completely genuine.
She says the paragraph just before that, or a couple paragraphs before that, that I really liked, is when she made herself look at the face. Now really look. It was only courteous, but a lady must never forget her courtesies. One, that repetition is good. And then she says she had never seen eyes so full of anger. And is it that anger and hatred that is driving this idea that it gives me joy to kill people? Is Sandor just so consumed with rage that it's an outlet, and it's not that he's not a sociopath who enjoys killing. It's just that he's so full of rage that he needs an outlet, and people happen to be in his way.
It is mentioned right before that when she was thinking about when he saved her in the riot, when they broke and ran before him, he had laughed, his terrible burned face for a moment transformed. So in that moment, it does look like he's experiencing joy in the heat of battle.
Yeah. I mean, he's also aware of how people see him, and I think he leans into that. So this conversation with Sansa could be his way of being like, yeah, I am this horrible guy who everyone thinks I am. They're all meat and I'm the butcher.
As long as I have my sword, there's no man on earth I need fear. But we're about to see him afraid.
He is going out of his way to perform honesty. He's talking about how knights are for killing. It's dressed up in different ways, but that's the end goal, so why not be honest about it? He is the butcher. So if he is that honest and wants everyone else to see it, it could also be that he feels like the world is lying and he's the only one telling the truth.
There are no true knights, no more than there are gods. If you can't protect yourself, die and get out of the way of those who can. Sharp steel and strong arms rule this world. Don't ever believe any different.
You're awful, I'm honest.
Yeah, so is this what he truly believes?
He's had to live that way, so I think he's had to believe it.
Yeah.
He hasn't been afforded the privilege of living any other way.
Yeah, but I also think he is someone where he's not a sociopath. He has feelings. He's capable of empathy. So I think he's someone where he's capable of having his mind changed. So even if like this is what he believes in that moment, I think he's super flexible.
And that's maybe why he's so drawn to Sansa, that it's a way of... he's like asking for someone to change his mind. And maybe she can do it.
I agree. I think he's almost psyching himself up for the battle.
Yeah.
You know, he's talking all this big talk of like, I'm made to kill. I'm going to kill all these men and I don't care.
Yeah.
And this is the way it is and it's okay.
Yeah.
And Sansa, I think gives him that permission. You know, even though, you know, she doesn't explicitly say like, you know, you're gonna protect us, this is good or whatever. But I think her saying you're awful is kind of the permission that he needs. He needs that reinforcement of, yes, I'm an awful person, even though I don't know if he really believes that.
I think,
Going back to, well, sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I think a lot of his fronting, too, is him reconciling for Gregor, because I think maybe a lot of it is him trying to convince himself that, like, maybe the world is so terrible that someone like Gregor is right. Because he resents Gregor so much and is so scared of him, and Gregor just has no feelings.
And look,
no
look where it's
empathy.
gotten Gregor. He's gotten a
Yeah,
knighthood.
he's like
gotten his
on top of the fucking
land.
world. And so I wonder if part of it is him just being like, fuck it, yeah, maybe that's right. Maybe that's the way it is. Maybe killing really is the best thing because look where it's gotten this guy.
Yeah.
I want a ginger beer. Sounds really good.
Can you get me a real beer?
Also,
I'll take a real beer.
It needs to be opened.
I'm gonna be the only
there's two
sober
booze.
one.
What? Ginger beer is non-alcoholic, and one beer is not going to do anything to us. So, you take your high horse and ride it off into the Blackwater Bay.
It was not a high horse. That was a disappointed donkey trot.
I'm that.
No. Hang on.
got some?
I
Okay,
I wanted to say something to Chelsea.
Sure.
There's also possibly in the back of his mind the threat of fire, because right now, as Stannis and sometimes even the Mountain clans are, what do you want? Do you want red
Push
here?
it, yeah.
Sure, let's push it.
Joel's all agitated.
Well, yeah, because we don't want that, do we?
I don't know. You guys tell us if it's too loud now.
Up your own sound, guys. You turn it up.
Get turned.
So Stannis is burning the Godswood, and the Mountain clans are also maybe burning the Godswood.
Yeah.
So
They're burning the Kingswood.
The Kingswood, that's right. They're burning the Kingswood. So I think just the image of ash being all around you and in the air can't be helping anyone's state of mind, much less his.
I agree. I think that's a very important that he's surrounded by this. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting that on the last page, Cersei says, "My brother Tyrion has the same disease," referring to wanting to be loved. Tyrion wants to be loved, but now we see him parlaying into whatever, they'll hate me as long as I do the right thing. So, it's just a little bit more insight into how, at least how Cersei sees Tyrion and what he wants, and then seeing how difficult it must be for Tyrion to experience all the hatred from people.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, John 7. I made a note at the top of this chapter to get a map, which I did not do.
Ooh,
My
we should still try and get one for Blackwater. I think that'll help.
Oh, I think that would, because it's cool.
Yeah, it's a little
Once it
confusing.
clicks in your head how, the whole thing pans out, it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, because just reading it for a long time, I didn't understand how.
Like the chain and stuff.
Yeah, and
the
how
river.
it was a bay, but how the people needed to cross. And
It's less of
jeez.
a bay in the show. They kind of just sail
It's
up.
more of a river.
It's just it all kind of takes place in one stretch of water.
Yeah.
But
Well, you can look at that while we discuss John 7, which is the chapter in which Corrin's a badass. And at the Skirling Pass.
dude,
You gotta be
Corrin
more
is so
specific, Jay.
cool.
And John has a wolf dream where he sees the wildling host.
Yeah.
And they learn about that there's a changeling, or not changeling, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Attack of the Clones.
there's a warg.
There's a warg. There's no Zamwasel in here. And Squire Dalbridge is a badass too. And they leave him to die.
I like how the chapter begins with an image of Squire Dalbridge leading with bow in hand, and he's praised for having the best eyes in the Night's Watch, it's said, and then he just sacrifices himself at the end.
He's got the best of eyes.
Also, I think the last John chapter, John was saying that, Stone Snake, he's got the best night eyes. So, who has the best eyes, John? Is it everyone you're with? Is it just you're in awe of these badass Night's Watch guys?
Gressel has the best eyes.
I do.
They're very pretty.
They are.
I appreciated this man's backstory, that he's a former ranger, an incredible ranger, and that he was also of wildling birth, but never learned obedience.
Yeah, the man's backstory is great.
Yeah, I forgot that he was of wildling birth. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I forgot that too.
He was born a wildling and then taken into the Night's Watch when I'm guessing his parents or whoever were killed. And
I love that he's kind of this man of two worlds, especially when we're talking about Jon.
And Theon.
Sure.
Man of two worlds.
Whatever. We'll get to that next chapter.
And
but,
Daenerys.
yeah. I mean, obviously, like, there's a lot of parallels with stuff. Do I have anything in the beginning of this chapter? Oh, we get, Jon offers himself up to Corin about,
Yeah.
about Ygritte.
I just like that he's like, so are you gonna punish me or what? He's so honest.
I know.
And then Corin kind of like sees his point. He's like, and not like to be a threat. He says, if I needed her dead, I would have left her with Evan or done the thing myself.
But I really love this, the lessons that he imparts here to Jon. First, he says, only fools like Thorin Smallwood despise the wildlings.
Mm-hmm.
They are as brave as we are, as strong as quick as clever. Corin does reiterate the point of they have no discipline, but I think that's Corin's kind of bias and his flaw. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
we've
not
seen that
perfect.
he values discipline.
Yeah. He never learned how to obey. He says about Mance, no more than me, Jon said quietly. And then the lesson that I think is very important here, this is something that was kind of a Ned thing as well, is to lead men you must know them. I know more of you now than I did this morning. And if I had slain her, she would be dead and I would know you better than I had before.
Yeah.
The point here, I think, is it's just like that we saw in the previous chapter. Like, each man on this mission has a specific task. And I think that Corin knew going in what Jon's would be. Mm-hmm. Whether or not he knew how it would ultimately end, I think Corin knew all along that Jon would be a double agent.
I don't think so.
I think so.
I don't
Yeah.
think
Why else bring Jon?
to get to. I think he
Jon
sees
doesn't
potential in Jon, and he's
But
wanting to
he-
get to know
but
him.
Corin
he's so-
isn't Gior.
He's so specific about like Jon is a northern, like he's a snow. He's got Stark blood. Like I think
The wolf.
I can buy that. Yeah, direwolf. He's got like those kind of supernatural connections to the north. I could totally buy that Corin is like, I'm gonna need him to join the wildlings at some point.
Okay, but why would he think? I don't think that Corin would go into a mission thinking we'll probably get captured.
No, I think he suspects, like, because Jon, if I remember right, Jon volunteers for the mission.
Yeah.
And I think that's when Corin's like, okay, this could work. Like, somehow this will work. I don't
Well,
think
he-
It might even
Corin-
be a contingency.
Corin
Yeah.
names Jon Snow, and Jon readily accepts.
Okay. Oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
So he brought him for a reason. And I think now, especially at like this point where he let Ygritte go and he confesses to it and he says, she's like, Jon offers up, she told me Mance would take me if I ran with her, and he says she told true. Corin's like, okay, this is our move. And especially after the wolf dream.
I'm skeptical, but
With the wolf dream, is this like a Bran type wolf dream where he's actually seeing through Ghost's
Yes.
eyes at present?
I-
So Ghost
yeah,
pads off and gets close enough to the wildling host
Yes.
to see it? Okay.
I think
And
Because then they find Ghost injured.
encounters
Oh,
time
yeah.
traveling Bran.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Let's
Pretty
talk
cool.
about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, shit. Wah, 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 wah.
Yeah,
This
that-
is 766.
That was crazy.
Who
Oh, yeah,
wants to
you're
go?
What?
Jon? The call came from behind him, softer than a whisper, but strong too. Can a shout be silent? He turned his head, searching for his brother, for a glimpse of a lean gray shape moving beneath the trees. But there was nothing, only a werewood.
On its own line.
Yeah. It seemed to sprout from solid rock, its pale roots twisting up from a myriad of fissures and hairline cracks. The tree was slender compared to other werewoods he had seen, no more than a sapling, yet it was growing as he watched, its limbs thickening as they reached for the sky. Wary, he circled the smooth white trunk until he came to the face. Red eyes looked at him. Fierce eyes they were, yet glad to see him. The werewood had his brother's face. Had his brother always had 3 eyes? Not always, came the silent shout. Not before the crow. I don't know. You want more?
Well, I think we can just pick out a couple things
Yeah.
going forward. So he sniffed at the bark, smelled wolf and tree and boy, that trinity.
The Holy Trinity.
The smell of death. Don't be afraid. I like it in the dark. No one can see you, but you can see them. But first you have to open your eyes. See, like this. And the tree reached down and touched him. And now he's in the present, in Ghost, looking at the wildling host.
Yeah.
So
what's going on
I
here?
think it started out as a regular dream, but then quickly becomes some kind of green-ish dream influenced by Bran, and then Bran touching him. I'm not sure if that moves then from a wolf dream to a green dream or from a green dream to a wolf dream, but Bran touching him takes him to where the information he needs is.
I don't think it's a green dream. Green dreams are prophetic. I think what this is it's like Bran's early dreams with the three-eyed crow. It's like these are
someone reaching out to
nebulous
them through a dream.
dreams, and this is Jon's kind of warging ability beginning, and I think it's accelerated by Bran. I think Bran reaching out and touching him is like, boom, you're a warg now.
Yeah.
So
And-
are we saying that, because I want to lump them together, but you're saying that green dreams are just prophetic dreams?
Yeah, that's what we know from Jojen.
Okay.
You see something in a green dream, it happens.
Got
Right.
it. I was trying to place some of what we could call Bran's early dreams that
Not
are
green
not
dreams.
Not
prophetic.
green.
They're just
Like the
magically
the
influenced.
crow.
Yeah, like those dreams.
Yeah, and in those dreams, as in this one, it's some kind of communication, because in those dreams
Communication?
it's in those dreams it's Bloodraven reaching out to Bran, and here it appears to be Bran reaching out to Jon.
Right.
And
yeah.
I'm a little confused though. In this early part of this dream, before he touches him, is it Jon? Is it Ghost? Is it?
I think he's
both?
Ghost,
It's-
because doesn't
it-
he
it's-
say
he's
he's like
Ghost.
padding
Okay.
around?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
He's
like,
thinking of his brothers and his sister.
He sat on his haunches and lifted his head to the
Okay.
darkening sky.
That's what I thought.
I
Yeah.
guess humans can sit on their haunches.
So,
That'd be
but when
weird.
he says the werewood had his brother's face, it's not like fucking Summer's face.
No,
No,
I think
it's-
it,
okay,
it
it's Bran's
moves
face.
from the
Yeah.
brother that he would expect, like a lean gray shape,
It's
to his
It's
other
like if-
brother.
Okay, yeah,
in
it's
between
kinda like-
confusion
Because
area
like
that Bran used to
if
have.
Bran
yeah.
is like Bran in a tree, it's like Jon is Jon and the wolf. It's like they're all
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
all
Bran did the same thing in a wolf chapter we had a little while ago with Summer, where he was thinking as himself and thinking as Summer.
yeah.
But yeah, very cool.
I love
Awesome
this
art.
packet. I mean, like now
Say
it's
packet.
passage. I meant
Oh,
to say passage, but now, knowing what we know from the books and what Joel knows from the show,
Yes.
having this moment where it's clearly Bran in the Weirwood is pretty neat. I totally forgot about this.
Yeah, I didn't know about this until reading it, and I like it in the dark. So it's like he's in that
Yeah, the
fucking
cave.
in Bloodraven's cave.
Yeah. So,
I like it in the dark. I like eating this paste.
and this is
Oh,
I think
too
I,
soon.
I
I
think
don't know
that
anything
this
about
is
no paste.
the
Not yet.
the language here that's used, smelled wolf and tree and boy, the language of this speech pattern. This is Bran. I don't think this isn't Bloodraven. This is Bran.
Yeah.
This
it seems
is
like
like
it's Bran.
Bran at some future
Some
point.
future point.
Because for Bran, time is a flat circle.
And then a dream. I was Ghost. He wakes up. He could still feel the talons, the pain. Corin refers to it as a wolf dream. And then moves on immediately. And it's just like,
Check OBS.
yep, that just went off. They can still hear us.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on, guys.
We're gonna fix the camera.
Yeah.
I gotta unplug my mic, but I was talking. Can someone pick up and talk about how Corin doesn't skip a beat?
I'm actually going to talk about how on 767, when Ghost is looking at the wildling host, and he says, "Many men, thousands, a huge host. They were down the valley. Some were tearing great holes in the half-frozen ground, while others trained for war. That made me think of Stannis.
Me too.
Yeah, his
At first I was
position-
like, "Whoa, holy shit! Are we looking at Stannis?" It's not.
Yeah,
Stannis.
yeah. I thought for a second that he was seeing the future and seeing Stannis.
I like that he feels, when he wakes up, he feels dumb for being all freaked out by this dream, but then when he describes it, he realizes everyone else is really freaked out too. I really like that.
Yeah, well, it's different than
good.
how it could be received from anyone else like Maester Luwin, because they're taking him. Corin takes him seriously immediately. He encourages him.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to make sure.
He encourages him to tell him his dream, and doesn't want to dismiss it.
Yeah.
Corin is enough in contact with the realm of magic beyond the wall and the power of the Starks maybe, that this is treated as serious. Also,
He knows how to he calls it a wolf dream.
yeah.
Yeah.
So coming into
boss.
this was surprising to me because in the show, no one but Bran has these dreams, and I'd heard rumors or inklings of other Stark siblings who are not Bran, off-Bran Starks, if you will, having.
Son of a bitch.
Wait, do you think off-brand stars?
Yep. Maybe there are other Starks who also have these dreams, but it was very surprising to have this early.
Damn, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Is that one you came up with ahead of time or just now?
On the walk up here.
Oh,
Okay.
God
Good.
damn it.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of the Black brothers laughed at him, you know? It's
Because these guys are the best.
Yeah.
we're all big fans of these dudes, and so it's kind of sad when they have to leave Squire Dalbridge behind because they know that there's an eagle hanging out, and it's a skin changer, and that this eagle sees them and is too far away for them to take care of, so they just kind of have to make a retreat. It's like this sounds like it sucks so bad that they walk down a hill, and then they're like, well, gotta go back because that's the only place to defend from, so
Yeah.
they just turn around.
One of my favorite moments here toward the end of the chapter is just when they get this new information where they're seen,
Look at the chat.
and eagles have sharper eyes than men. We are seen, so now we run. And it's just like, yep.
Yeah.
This is like, we got to get out of here. Like, this is the new information we have. We got to get out. And it's just such a, he's just the coolest.
Yeah, and I love his. I mean, we heard his mantra earlier, or one of his management tips of knowing his personnel. That's the best way to be a leader, is to know your men. So I just enjoy the structure that everyone's serving obediently. They're trusting each other. They're listening to each other. There's the existence of a wolf dream, but then there's also the details of mammoths and giants, and they accept that as true immediately.
And I like just on page 767 when John realizes this is no army no more than it is a town. This is a whole people come together, and you realize that there's something bigger here than just, it's not like another wildling raid or
It's a
straight up.
movement.
It's like something, there's something bigger happening.
Something, yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
cool.
I like.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I like that earlier in the chapter when John was thinking about Ygritte, he was saying that there was no evil in her. I think it's just complicating this narrative more, that he's learning he may need to kill people who are not inherently evil, but who are still his enemy. And this chapter just is about that blurring of enemies, man and wolf and eagle, also present, past, future, the Night's Watch and the wildlings, magic and non-magic. Stuff's getting blurred and crazy, guys.
Yeah. I'm so pumped now for John. We're getting the real meat of John,
Yeah.
and this is so great. Let's tip a cap to Squire Dalbridge.
Yeah.
Aww.
And from here, one man could hold 100. The right man. He looked at Squire Dalbridge. The squire bowed his head. Leave me as many arrows as you can spare, brothers. He stroked his long bow.
And take care of my horse.
Yeah. And see, my Karen has an apple when you're home. He's earned it, poor beastie. And John realized he's staying to die.
That line is the most Samwise
Yep.
Gamgee line.
Yeah.
Seema Garen has an apple.
Yeah. Dalbridge, G,
Yep.
Shadow Tower.
The
Gee.
squire to a king in his last mission. could be serving
Oh,
king.
very nice.
Um,
You ready to move on?
yes.
All right, Tyrion 12.
Tyrion 13?
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
12.
I miswrote.
Okay, cool. This is a fun one because it's all Tyrion and Cersei.
Oh my god.
And it's
It's ridiculous.
and it's him getting news. It starts off with him getting news of Bran and Rickon up at Winterfell. Wait, when did we read Theon? Was that last week?
That was last week.
Oh, and yeah,
It
okay.
ended with them executing a plan. This is the first
Oh.
we're hearing of its completion.
Yes, this is the first time we've heard the rumor that Bran and Rickon are killed.
Yes.
He also reflects with Varys about how there's been no news from Littlefinger. Still, I'm getting antsy here. I want my boy back. But anyway, he talks about plans regarding the Kingsguard and Joffrey in Blackwater, and goes to talk to Cersei, who tries to pull a move on him, saying that
Oh god,
she
it
has his
fails so hard.
and in a shadow of things to come, Cersei being overconfident in a very plan gone awry.
Dude, the meal that they have in here
Yeah.
is like the best sounding meal
A lot of
in
food
the
talk.
book.
This is in the cookbook.
I'll be right back.
Have you ever had like chestnut soup before? Like hazelnut soup is so
I don't like
good. And
hazelnuts.
I don't either.
No.
But when it's as a soup,
get
it's
by?
real good.
On that one?
It's like a different thing. It's really delicious.
Yeah, on that, I guess we can just start there. I mean, that's the real meat of the scene. The ultimate result of this, really, more than anything, is that Tyrion kind of seals his own fate with what he says to Cersei.
yeah.
Yes, in the short term and the long term, because this sets up an assassination attempt and I think cements, at least in Cersei's mind, distrust forever between them, because he threatens to like beat and rape Tommen.
Yeah.
Holy
Like
shit.
like I see why he plays into it to protect Shay and to protect like his position, but
But it's also like, no.
this is just
Shut
confirming
up.
everything she thinks and worse.
Yeah, for sure. Although I wonder if now it's a relief for both of them because they can both stop pretending that they like each other.
Yeah.
Because it's like all these really fake niceties and it's just a lot of bullshit with them kind of dancing around each other and unveiling each other's plots. But now it's like, okay, we can both openly say we hate each other. And
It's so sad that because he's even disappointed here that he's talking about protecting his family and having to tell her, and she's earnestly believing that he would just kill them all.
Yeah. Wait, and she has a point though when she's like, when she thinks that Tyrion wants Joffrey to die during battle. If you wanted to kill Joffrey, that's a smart way to do it. Is
Oh,
have
sure.
him fight and just get killed.
Because he totally would.
Yeah, and then it's like, well, we wanted him to look brave for his people, and you know, shit happens. But he's genuinely, that's not what he's trying to do, and it's so sad. I like that Tyrion brings the news to Cersei, and it's like, I want to see how she reacts to this. Like, I hope she's fucking happy because it's. I feel like he sees everything as Jaime and Cersei's fault, or Cersei's fault rather.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So he's like, oh great, the two young Stark boys are dead. I just want to see, like, how happy are you about
And
this?
he's almost right.
Yeah.
Like it is dramatic enough to provoke a strong reaction from Catelyn. It's just not the reaction that he expected. You know, like he's, I think expecting retribution for that isn't wrong. It's just, you know, he didn't expect what Catelyn ultimately decides to do.
Yeah. I also think there's a little bit of Tyrion not wanting to believe that this is more Jaime's fault than Cersei's, and I think he really wants to put it on Cersei.
Oh, sure.
Because he
yeah,
likes
totally.
Jaime so much. Because he's like, I bet you're happy, like, you wanted the Stark boy dead. And she's like, dude, it was Jaime who pushed him. I didn't want him dead. Like, he's a kid. I could just intimidate him. And I think Tyrion just wants it to be Cersei's complete fault, and it's not.
Though if Cersei had taken her way, that's not secure at all.
No.
Like, oh, I'll just bully this kid who I'm not going to see.
But that's classic Cersei, overconfident in her own abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause she
And
thinks she's
Jaime
tight.
hasty to action.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tywin could probably scare him into silence.
Yeah.
Oh, Tywin would have pushed him and then made sure the job was cleanly finished.
And then
Yeah.
gone down to the tower and like,
Yeah.
for sure.
Oh, a quick aside. I thought it was interesting for the assessment of the wildlings from Corrin in terms of like bravery and discipline. Tyrion talks about the mountain clans
Sure.
and that how they don't. Oh wait, hang on. Where is it?
Oh, in formal battle,
Yes.
disciplines more. Yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of battle will the Night's Watch have with the wildlings is highlighted as important.
Yeah.
If discipline is more important than courage.
I love parallels between Jon and Tyrion, especially because they both become
Are
so
tards.
entwined. Well, yeah, that. Okay, but also because they both become so entwined with these like wild clans, and to the same extent, so does Daenerys, her and the Dothraki. They all have
Yeah.
these like deep connections to these like tribal people
Yeah.
that aren't their own people.
Yeah, all 3 Targaryens,
All 3 of them.
heads of the dragon.
Sorry, I can't.
Fuming right
I
now.
can't support. I don't know anything yet.
Oh, by the way, a little vocab for you because it keeps coming up. Sortie.
Yes.
Sortie is an attack from a defensive position. So it's when you're defending and then you send out some troops from your defensive position to lead an attack, presumably come back.
That's helpful.
Yes, there you go. It comes up a lot, especially in Blackwater.
Page 775.
It's also
I
a fun
like
word.
that Cersei genuinely believed like Varys was her buddy when
Yeah.
she first got to court.
I was convinced I had no truer friend at court.
I think that's really interesting when you think about kind of like Varys' history in King's Landing, that he probably felt out whether Cersei could be a useful asset and decided against it. Mm-hmm. You know, if you look at it from Varys' perspective,
He was like probing to see if she was
yeah,
useful, and I was
then
like,
was like, no, she's not worth anything. And so I think that that's really interesting, something to think about, especially when you, and I think that Cersei's kind of in a way right. She's warning Tyrion against Varys, and you can't really trust Varys. You can't fully trust him. Even though I guess if Tyrion's a secret Targ, like Varys should be all about that.
Yeah.
So salty.
Well, because you know about Varys being a secret, something else.
Okay.
So we get this play act that Tyrion has to put on. Though I appreciate that. I think this happens in this chapter and later in a Sansa chapter where someone springs something on another person, and if they admitted to it immediately, the ruse would have, the jig would have been up. But that's not. But the person accusing the other person of the thing had it wrong. So in both cases, Tyrion and later Sansa play it cool enough that the other person doesn't get what they want. I'm just saying George likes to play this device and does it soon afterwards.
A lot of Cersei talk about dicks.
I was about to say dicks.
It
Jesus.
ramps up in the end of Clash of Kings. Because do you know why Varys is so dangerous? He doesn't have a cock. And a lot of her discussion in this and in the Sansa chapters are about men and women and their different strengths
How
and different
she's
weapons.
so
The
obsessed
rest
with
of
it.
Cersei.
She's so obsessed and it drives her crazy.
Yeah, even Tyrion thinks, don't you just hate that Cersei,
Yeah.
that you don't have cock.
She needs to do some stand-up and just talk about the differences between men
Yeah,
and women.
right. Men be like this.
Men just think with the worm between their legs.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Please clap,
Please
or I'll
clap.
burn you all.
Please clap. Oh no.
Yeah, so she has Tyrion's whore, but it's not. It's how do you
It's-
say?
Baba Yaga?
Alaya.
I think
Alayaya?
Dotrice, Roy
Alay.
Dotrice says it, Alayaya.
I don't trust that guy for
Alayaya.
nothing.
Alayaya.
That sounds right.
That does, yeah.
Alayaya. Yeah.
Alayaya.
Also, it's important that this might be. I mean, we know that Cersei hates Tyrion, but on 777, her perspective is being vocalized of like, you've been scheming against me since the day you came to King's Landing. And she offers up some evidence in support of that perspective. You sold Myrcella, you stole Tommen, and now you plot to have Joff killed. Obviously, he's not plotting to have Joff killed, but that's what she thinks. And, like, this idea of what Tyrion's goals are drives her actions for the rest of the series.
But it's all classic Cersei. It's not seeing the forest through the trees. It's not seeing what the benefits of doing those things to her children are.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's just taking away.
Well, she just sees, because as we learn later, and as we've learned in the show already, there's this prophecy that drives her whole life, pretty much.
Yeah.
She's so obsessed with it, and I think she's so obsessed with, like, completing pieces of it that she's looking for ways to make it make sense. Like, I think she's just trying to put it all together so she can prevent it right now, right away. So she can be like, Tyrion's the person in this prophecy who's going to try and kill my kids. He's trying to kill Joffrey. I'm going to, like, head this off now. And hopefully I can, like, work my way around it.
And he makes it worse in this chapter when he decides, if she thinks me such a monster, I'll play the part for her.
Yeah.
And at the bottom of that page, 779,
Yeah.
a day will come when you think yourself safe and happy, and suddenly your joy will turn to ashes in your mouth, and you'll know the debt is paid.
Yeah.
And he's saying that in response to her having a Leia, like her not even having Shay.
No.
This reaction would be appropriate, I guess, if she actually had Shay and he was seriously worried for Shay's life. But this is him playing a part. This is him thinking, oh, I have to make her think that this is actually the woman I love.
Yeah.
So I'll say something really heinous. And this comes back. And I mean, this is what she fixates on for the rest of her time in the series. Presumably, we don't know what happens to her.
Yeah.
But like, this is what she fixates on, and this is what leads to his downfall and eventual exile.
I think though, in a way, it's not about Shay or Alaya or whatever. It's about Tisha. It's about the idea that it's a whore being used against him. Like, just, we're talking about the prophecy that drives Cersei's whole character. Like, that event from Tyrion's childhood is what really drives Tyrion completely.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting ramped up, and this is that. He's reacting to that. I think a little bit of this is projecting. Cersei's trying to act like Tywin. Tyrion is projecting some of this anger for a reaction against a whore on Tywin. Like part of this is real. He's not totally play acting. And I think it's because of this perceived weakness that's used against him. This childhood event that's just at his core what really drives him, and what is his undoing.
I mean, they're both so influenced by Tywin, and his shadow looms so large over both of them.
Sure.
Tyrion says his tone was calm, flat, uncaring. He'd reached for his father's voice and found it. He finds strength in imitating Tywin, especially when having to deal with Cersei, because he knows that Tywin effectively controls Cersei.
I like that he thinks, like, I have to be a rock, like Casterly rock. And then the next chapter, I believe, Catelyn talks about, like, the rivers of her father's, like, hand, like his veins and stuff. I think it's cool that they, like,
nice.
I do
start
like that.
embodying these, like, places.
Yeah, they
they're
think
from.
of the world in terms of their homeland. I didn't really care for when he comes back and finds Shay. This
the
whole
worst.
Fuck
scene.
Shay, I hate
Okay, this
Shay.
is the first time I was entirely like, oh, fuck Shay.
Yeah,
because
what,
she has
the
sucks.
lawless thing?
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Everyone is so fucking mean to Lawless.
Poor lawless.
Like-
Sansa's not.
Sansa's just.
Oh, Sansa's-
She's like tries to
she's
be like,
like,
it'll be
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was laughing earlier when Shay's like, I want some hands on my titties. And
Yeah.
Well,
So I-
especially the foreshadowing of that too.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
the chain around
Yeah.
her neck. Yeah. But yeah, Lawless sleeps all she ever wants to do, the great cow. All they did was fuck her. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm
Wow.
sorry she's depressed and traumatized.
Oh
Yeah.
Fuck you.
God,
Again,
Shay.
I
Fuck you,
I think
Shay.
something that's really cool about this whole series is there's so many characters you could so easily diagnose with mental illnesses, and mental illness isn't a thing in this world, and you can kind of see how, like, these people are suffering from it. We see it as modern readers, but in this world, no one gives a shit, and it's just kind of neat.
He does the same thing with physical diseases too.
Yeah.
Like he lays out the symptoms so that we, from a modern perspective, can see what it
Hostage
is.
Stomach cancer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cersei is textbook narcissist,
Yeah.
which is alarming.
Yeah, for sure.
Wouldn't want a ruler with that.
Okay. Shay's the worst.
Yeah.
Catelyn.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just want to say, someone a couple weeks ago said something about making me fan art of me as Joanna Lannister, and I want it still.
She's yet to see it.
I want to see.
Okay.
I want it so
Guys,
bad.
we have so
I know,
many
we have-
chapters.
Don't
We're
feel
doing
obligated.
great. We're doing
We're
great.
not doing-
No, we're not.
We're not doing it. It's been an hour,
Sure.
so that's not bad. But we still have a lot of
We have a
chapters
lot
left.
left. This is 7?
This was our choice.
Catelyn 7, the chapter in which it's Catelyn and Jaime time. Another great
yeah, and
fucking chapter.
Guest starring Bucket of Poop in the corner.
This is after she learns of Bran and Rickon.
Yeah.
Which sucks for her.
Oh boy. She's losing it here.
She's losing it. And then she goes to Jaime and they play a little game of Truthy Truthy. And she finds out a bunch of stuff, including...
As opposed to Truthy Smacky.
Exactly.
These Mackie.
And she finds out that it's from the show. Jaqen and Arya, they play Truthy Smacky.
Sure.
If she doesn't tell the truth, she gets a smacky. And Jaime offers up that he threw Bran out a window, and then Jaime gives his treatise on vows, and it's great. And he tells the story of the Starks dying. This is like, we just had a chapter with Tyrion and Cersei, which is awesome, 2-person scene. Now we get Catelyn and Jaime, this might be the most that we've gotten of Jaime's inner
I think
thoughts,
so.
right? In
This
the
is
series.
when you start to feel like,
Oh shit, Jamie.
Jamie's a character.
Yeah, like Jaime's got some.
like
He's not just.
he's
this,
not just a hottie.
Yeah, a hottie soldier who's great at his job.
Before we get into Catelyn and Jaime,
Sure.
784, Catelyn's inner monologue. There's an empty place within me where my heart once was.
Yeah.
She's losing it.
Also, she tries to speak and the words get caught in her throat.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
There's
take
a
no
lot,
joy in
yeah.
mead nor meat,
I
which is
become a
part of
sour
the
woman.
Gestrite
Oh yeah.
prayer.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
And
this-
I love that she's sitting next to Brienne. It's just the two of them, and she is hyper aware of Brienne's eating sounds, which that's happened to everyone.
I can relate.
Yeah.
What, Joel?
This chapter was just devastating because she has lost so much. She was already so identified with the grief she was feeling, what she didn't have anymore. That's all that she had. And so now I think she's perfectly poised to make, I wouldn't even call it rash, a decision that makes sense, because all she has left is the hope of Sansa, maybe Arya. I think that it's so interesting and effectively done to watch George process this within her, and her saying it, making it true, and that she didn't want to tell anyone yet because maybe it wouldn't be. But like the depiction of grief that he has her undergo is always fascinating to me.
Yeah. And again, like we were just talking about the idea of mental illness in the series, like Catelyn just straight up has depression and is grieving hardcore, and
Sure.
these people have no way to deal with it because feelings aren't really a thing in this world. There's no time for feelings.
Yeah, and it's and if you have more children, you can keep losing more things.
Yeah.
It can only get worse.
Yeah.
I really love Brienne's reaction when Catelyn tells her about what happened, where she says, "There are no words, my lady, my good lady." I just really love like that turn of phrase from Brienne. I think is really interesting, because I think from Brienne she really means it. Like, you're good. You are a good lady, and I think that's a big deal from Brienne. It's not just an empty pleasantry. Like she's saying, like, you don't deserve this. I really like that.
And I like the detail that Catelyn is right. She says that I was certain the boys would be safe so long as the dire wolves were with them.
Yeah. Hey, the bird came from Castle Kerwin from Sir Roderick. Wasn't Sir Roderick heading to Torrens Square?
I think they're on their way back. I think he was successful at Torrens Square. Because
Okay,
later in the
'cause-
Theon chapter, they talk
Yeah,
about how he
they
broke-
drive out.
Yeah.
Okay. So who's left at Torrens Square?
Well, it was one of the Tall Hearts, because Theon mentions it, and then they regroup.
Leopold?
No, he kills Leopold. It's a different one.
Benford? No, he killed Benford.
He killed Benford. You're
Yeah,
right.
it's Leopold.
And then they regroup and they join with Sir Roderick. And they're on
Okay,
their way
so
back.
they're on their way back. They're at Castle Kerwin, so they're almost back at Winterfell.
Yeah.
The map I just looked at showed that Castle Kerwin isn't too far south.
South of Winterfell on the White Knife.
Yeah.
Another Catelyn thing she says to Brienne, I want them all dead, Brienne. Theon Greyjoy first, then Jaime Lannister and Cersei and the Imp and everyone. A Stark woman making a list of people she wants dead.
Yeah.
Also, they have vengeance.
Yes.
I like her reminiscing about ice.
Mm-hmm. And ice can kill as dead as fire.
And then she's not so given over to that yet, because she also says that she just wants Robb to pick a homely daughter of Walder Frey and make him happy and give him sons. She wants Bran Rickon back. She wants things to be okay again, and
But-
she can't see a way that it could be.
But she also says, Ned always said the man who passes the sentence should swing the blade, though he never took any joy in the duty. But I would, oh yes.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but I think she is a little too far gone.
Yeah, she's starting to.
I think what we find out is the transaction that she has with Jaime is her last ditch effort to retain the part of herself that is not just entirely vengeful.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes to Jaime, who's looking a little rough, but still like some great yellow beast, magnificent even in his chains. Damn, what a hottie.
He's got those dungeon abs.
That's emaciation. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's wasted away a little bit, shitting his brains out into a bucket.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh man, there are no men like me, only me.
So great.
So great. Nothing here but arrogance and pride. If he's cowed, he hides it well.
And he is hiding it well.
He is.
I think.
You think he's actually scared?
No, I don't think he's scared,
You
but
think
I think
he's,
that he's definitely depressed. Like when Jaime says there are no men like me, only me, that's not a boast. It's a lament, I think.
So Chelsea and I had a question.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what the fuck is he talking about when...
Oh, I think I have the same question.
Yeah, so maybe Gressel can answer it, or maybe he has the same question.
Sure.
Where the fuck is it? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the second last page of this chapter, so I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But I think it passing odd that I am loved by one for a kindness I never did, and reviled by so many for my finest act. I get the second part, reviled by so many for my finest act. What is I'm
What's
loved
a
by one for a
kindness he
kindness I
never
never did?
did?
Kindness he never
Anyone?
did.
And who's the one?
Reviled by, or no, loved by one.
Yeah.
It makes me think of Cersei or Tyrion.
It would definitely be. Oh!
Oh,
Is
is it
It's
Tysha?
Tyrion for Tysha.
But why would he be loved by him for that? He would still be pissed that this happened.
But that's the thing is,
No.
Tyrion doesn't know that.
No, but he would still be pissed that he'd played along and made this trick happen as Tyrion views it, that he'd set him up for this anyway, because it's still a sore point.
Javier's saying it's Tysha.
Yeah, I think it's the kindness is the introduction.
Yeah.
Like,
Because
I don't think
for
so.
for a while they were happy. I think Tyrion still sees it as Jaime did provide me with that. For a little while I was happy, and it was Tywin who took it away.
And it's important to note that right now Jaime and Tyrion are on good terms.
Yeah.
Tyrion likes Jaime a lot.
But Tyrion still thinks that Tysha was a whore.
Yeah, but a whore that Jaime paid for.
Okay, I see what you're
But that's
saying.
it's still a fiction. The happiness that he thought he had was never true.
It's not true that. Do you know? Does Joel know that? yet?
I know, but I'm saying for where Tyrion is now, I don't think Jaime would think of what he did as kindness.
I'm afraid of accidentally spoiling some stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into
But
it.
let's agree that it's probably Jaime / Tysha,
I agree.
and go from there
agree.
because I think there's some stuff.
I know everything.
You
He
do?
knows everything.
I know everything about this,
Okay.
Okay.
and it doesn't make sense to me why he would.
It's a kindness he never did. Taisha was real.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
The kindness is giving Tyrion his first bedding.
Yeah.
So Tyrion, so he's saying Tyrion thinks that Jaime bought him, I guess, Taisha as a way of like, here's your first lady, and Tyrion was thrilled about that. Got some happiness.
But
out
it was
of
at the. Okay, keep going. Yeah.
got some happiness out of their marriage, and
Yeah.
then, like you said, Daddy Tywin
takes
took it away. But in actuality, Jaime had nothing to do with
Yes.
it. They
Yeah.
actually,
Yes.
so that's
It was real.
the kindness that he never did. He didn't
Yeah.
have anything to do with Taisha.
Yeah. He
Okay.
was just an arrogant young kid who went
Yeah,
chasing after the bandits.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see him. I can
Okay.
see the argument for this.
Yeah. Cool.
And I do,
Um,
his greatest, he calls it his greatest act or whatever. I think that's 100% true.
His finest act, yeah, killing Mad King Aerys.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
Jaime is a hero.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I've always said that's one of my things against Ned is how much he hates Jaime for that act.
And presumably, Catelyn doesn't know the specifics of
It seems
Lord
like most of the
Rickard
realm
and
doesn't.
Brandon.
He's
Yeah.
just the Kingslayer.
Yeah.
I love the portrait that we're starting to get of Jaime as the result of this person who highly valued honor, but he's talking about how
Yeah,
he
can I-
can't keep all of these.
Can I read it?
Oh, wait, hang on. He can't keep all of these vows, and making hard choices that put one over another broke something in him.
Jaime reached for the flagon to refill his cup. So many vows that make you swear and swear. Defend the king, obey the king, keep his secrets, do his bidding, your life for his. But obey your father, love your sister, protect the innocent, defend the weak, respect the gods, obey the laws. It's too much. No matter what you do, you're forsaking one vow or the other. He took a healthy swallow of wine and closed his eyes for an instant, leaning his head back against the patch of night around the wall. I was the youngest man ever to wear the white cloak, and the youngest to betray all it stood for, Kingslayer. Kingslayer, he pronounced carefully, and such a king he was. He lifted his cup. To Aerys Targaryen, the second of his name, Lord of the Seven Kingdoms and Protector of the Realm, and to the sword that opened his throat, a golden sword, don't you know, until his blood ran red down the blade. Those are the Lannister colors, red and gold.
The italics of protector, I think, is really important. He's saying that mockingly
Very
and
mockingly.
sarcastically. I also really love later when we talk about after he tells the story of Brandon and Rickard Stark. He says, after Gerald Hightower himself took me aside and said to me, "You swore a vow to guard the king, not to judge him. That was the White Bull, loyal to the end and a better man than me. All agree."
Again, sarcastic.
Yeah. Well, no, I think that's sincere.
Well, it's sincere
Yeah,
that
but it's-
everyone believes it,
right.
but it's him being like,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
like,
let-
what the fuck?
I just want to
let
talk
this
about
happen.
briefly to contextualize this. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but to contextualize this, let's talk about the Kingsguard that Jaime served with.
Yeah,
This
you got the
was
White Bull.
Gerald Hightower,
You got Sword of the Morning.
Barristan Selmy, Arthur Dane,
This is like one of the best
Yeah,
King's Guards ever assembled.
Jaime, and the Went, who was at Tower of Joy, whose name I'm
Harold?
forgetting.
No.
Oswell.
Oswell?
Oswald went, right?
Yeah, I think
Yep.
so. These are like especially compared to the Kingsguard now. Like this is we talked
Yeah.
earlier about seeing the Night's Watch as it should be. That was the Kingsguard as it should have been or should be, and for Jaime to be surrounded by that real sense of honor and duty, this idea of it's your vow to guard the king, not to judge him, but still have this, like he's talking about in his vow speech, this sense of we are supposed to be the people who are guarding the realm, who are protecting the innocent. That's who we are as knights. When he's surrounded by these capital K knights, like the conflict there, I love so much. I think it's such an amazing choice by George to have these mythical figures. One, they're all dead, so they can't really speak for themselves. And two, except for Sir Barristan, and two, they're these like legendary men of honor and prowess. And Jaime, who's a living legend in a way as a swordsman, it's totally undercut by this perceived blemish on his record when it's in actuality his greatest act. I love that conflict so much.
And I think the bigger blemish is Gerald Hightower and
I
his
agree.
perspective, you know? Like, let the king do what he wants. He's the king when it's obviously this horrible, heinous act. And I think it's interesting that prior to this, the only time we've gotten any perspective on Gerald Hightower is from Ned.
Tower of Joy.
Tower of Joy, his thoughts there. And I can't remember specifically what he thought of Hightower. Obviously, he had a lot to say good about Sir Arthur Dayne. But, I mean, I think the general sense that you get was that he respected Hightower, thought he was a good guy, a good knight, a loyal man. And then Jaime's dropping this hot knowledge bomb where it's like, yeah, he was loyal, but is that the best thing you should strive for? Or should you do something more like what Jaime did and stop this madness in the name of your king?
Stop this. What is that from?
That's from the Tourney of the Hand.
Oh yeah.
Stop this madness.
Stop
in the
this
name of your king.
madness.
I think you also have
Lucy.
You also have Lucy.
I think you also have what happens after that changing how he perceives honor and how he chooses to act, because because Robert sits in judgment of him, like Robert the drunkard, and Ned the adulterer also sits in judgment of him, saying that Jaime has dishonored.
Alleged.
Yeah.
Adult.
As far as he knows,
from
the
his
evidence of having a bastard.
Sure,
Yeah. I think from there, he chooses no longer to be this person who pursues honor as this high ideal. I think that's what starts his kind of downward slope of morality and how he becomes who he is today.
I'm just so pumped now. Like, this is our first real taste of Jaime as a character, and like we get it full force in Storm, and this is great. I think he's one of my personal favorite characters in the whole series. He's so complex, and his journey is so interesting, and this is just the amuse-bouche for Jaime. This is just the taste.
Oh. It's like a little.
It's a free appetizer.
A little.
Well, today I learned. Anything else before we move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we got 5 minutes.
I know, but there's some stuff. We also get the exchange where Catelyn confirms that Tyrion and Jaime are telling the same story about the dagger, and Jaime refuses to admit that he or Cersei sent the assassin, and she believes him, which I think trusting Tyrion is key to this decision that she'll make, because that maybe he would then honor the terms that Cleos Frey gave.
Yeah.
There's speaking of Littlefinger, there's also one little moment I thought, James, you would like.
Oh yeah, we should mention that.
Yeah, when she is visiting with Hoster Tully.
Oh yeah, that Peter knew where they were, and he went back for them.
Yeah,
of course he knew where they were.
He could find them in the fog,
Yeah.
which recalls an earlier part in this chapter when Littlefinger was head out on a very foggy day to Bitterbridge, and that he would find his way.
Oh, there's
good call.
also
Nice.
He can find his way in the murk.
Ooh, that's weird. Is he magic?
Yeah, like what is is he magical?
There's also Jaime mocks Catelyn for not being a maid.
Littlefinger had you first, didn't
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
it's at the end. It's
Yep,
that
it's at
part.
the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never eat off another man's trencher.
And we also get the confession right after this that Jaime's never been with anybody but Cersei. Meanwhile, Cersei's just like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She just needs that dick.
She does. It's not a lie.
I mean, if I can't have one, I guess I'll just have one.
Can we just talk about really quick how fucking metal the way that Brandon and Lord Rickard dies?
Oh,
Yeah.
shit, yeah.
It's so fucking
That's
crazy.
brutal.
It's literally like
A saw torture device?
It is.
It's a
That's what I
little
thought of.
saw.
Jigsaw, man.
it's a little like.
Do you want to play a game?
don't know.
My champion is
Well,
Thor.
I see it as like a weird, like an album, like a fucked up
Oh,
album
for
cover.
sure.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
like-
someone
like
burning
death
and then
metal
like,
band.
And
yeah.
it's like airbrushed and like
Yeah.
really, yeah.
It would be an
it's-
Iron Maiden
Yeah, with like
with
where-
Eddie the Head. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
and-
the
and
Meatloaf, the like
Bat Outta Hell,
album,
yeah,
like that
and-
style.
and with like with Brandon like reaching toward the toward you like in the background.
It's pretty
just like
fucking cool.
it's so crazy.
It's very brutal.
Just having
brutal.
to watch your son try and save you, because I think he goes first. So Brandon strangles himself first, and then Rickard burns.
The crazy thing is that Rickard isn't just burned; he's like held
melted.
above the flames.
Yeah.
He's not like.
No, he's
like,
cooked.
He's like
yeah,
melting.
Yeah, he's not like
fucked
thrown
up.
into a fire like Miri Mazdur and like burns relatively quickly. Not saying it's a good way to go, but he's like put above the fire
like the worst
and
way to go.
roasted.
They turn that
in
broiler on
armor.
high.
Yeah, no, not even, because the broiler is more like direct flame. He was put in a.
He was like roasted.
Yeah.
It
It's like a
is
convection
like a.
oven.
Yeah.
There's a torture device that I forget. I think it's like the bull. It's like the bull of some, but it's like they would put. It'd be like a person inside of a metal bowl, and they'd be cooked alive, and
heat
then
the
their
bowl.
screams would come out of the bowls, like so. It's like a bowl. I bet someone, because I can't look it up right now, but
It's
anyway.
but it's we get a little bit of insight too into the other Starks, and these are more of like the wolf's blood Starks, like Rickard demanding a trial by combat, and like, pumped to fight one of the Kingsguard.
And Brandon, as Jamie points out, seems more like him. He rode into King's Landing demanding Rhaegar's head.
Yeah, which is not a Ned move.
No.
So
No.
I just think that, we have this kind of image of the Starks, but that's not all Starks. So
I also thought that, Gressel, it's something that you might notice, but it was interesting to know that it was not just Brandon and Rickard who were killed, but pairs of father and sons, Jeffrey Mallister, Kyle, another Royce,
And
Albert Aaron, John Aaron's nephew
John
and
Aaron's
heir.
nephew and heir, which is important.
And why was he his heir if he apparently had a father who was also killed?
I think that at that point, John Aaron did not have a son.
he probably named him heir.
Okay.
He's probably like
Yeah,
heir-
my
heir
question was why was the
apparent.
nephew his heir, not the nephew's son?
Yeah,
You know?
perhaps that father had died, though it says that all the fathers were invited and killed. So
Exactly, so
maybe
that was my
there was
confusion.
one who was not.
But yes, and it's interesting those men who are named too, because that kind of like it's a Mallister from the Riverlands, it's Kyle Royce from the Vale, Ethan Glover.
Ethan Glover, who was not killed.
Right. Well, I don't think all the fathers. I don't think they all answered the call.
Well, when
When
they
they
came,
came,
he had them murdered
without
trial,
yeah,
fathers and sons both.
Yeah.
Ethan Glover was Brandon's squire. He was the only one to survive. So
Does he go to the top? Who's the Glover who's with Ned at Tower
I
of
believe
Joy?
that-
Danny.
It's like Talbert. I might just be making that name.
So
up.
Ethan Glover is still
Ethan
alive.
Glover doesn't sound like a Game of Thrones name.
No.
It sounds like.
We gotta.
Yeah,
this
we
is minutia. We gotta.
I'm just
move
saying
on.
Ethan Glover's still alive,
Sure.
and that he was Brandon's squire.
Okay.
Okay.
That might be important.
Which
I don't
Theon
know.
is this?
Oh God, this
Theon 5.
5.
like everything just
Everything goes
blowing
terrible.
up in his face.
Yes, in this Theon chapter, he reflects on the Miller boy incident, and then Asha comes up and meets
Oh,
with him,
someone
and
knows
she is
what- Here, keep talking.
not impressed. And then he starts having nightmares, kind of wolfy nightmares. Not necessarily wolf nightmares, but kind of prophetic, magical nightmares, I'd say. I mean, people theorize that it has to do with the weirwood bed that he's sleeping on because it's
Yeah.
Ned's bed. Ned's bed, baby, Ned's bed. And then he sends Reek away to go get men
Yeah.
to help defend against... everything's just unraveling here now.
Mikey.
Oh, Ethan Glover died at Tower of Joy. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No. Well, whatever.
It's fine.
Mikey, I don't know, it's Mikey something something. Knew what I was talking about. If you want to learn about some really weird torture stuff,
Sure.
go Google that. Go look at Google images.
The Braxton Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh God, the Braxton Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So in this chapter, Theon is coming to terms, I think, too late with the fact that he is caught between worlds, and for what he's done,
I don't think
he
he's
can
coming to
only.
terms with it.
No, hang on. Let me finish.
Sure.
Let me finish.
Okay.
By the end of this chapter, he knows what he should have done, and that is go with Asha. he is realizing that he can only be a Greyjoy now. Like, he's tried to be Ned Stark and rule over these people, and they haven't appreciated it. His men are getting killed. I think this has been about knowing what he should do. For so long, he's thought, like, oh, I should have, killed the wolves. I should have killed Osha. I should have taken them back as hostages. But he wanted to stay and rule Winterfell. And I think now he's realizing that, oh, shit, I've been too prideful or too afraid to do what I needed to. Now it's too late.
Someone in the comments from last week's episode said that we're too hard on Theon and we're not looking close enough at the things that make Theon interesting or redeemable or sympathetic or whatever. And I just want to say, one, fuck Theon. Two, here's why. Throughout this chapter, he keeps saying in some form or another, either aloud or internally, they gave me no choice. He keeps pawning responsibility on everybody else. And even though, Joel, you're right, by the end of the chapter, he does say, I should have done this, I should have done this, I should have left, I should have been a Greyjoy, not tried to have been the Stark in Winterfell, because he's not. The fact that he keeps passing the buck when it was all his fault drives me nuts. He's a sniveling child who had no business doing this and did it out of the worst, most selfish motivations. I feel like I've had this conversation recently about something else. But but it's just, it's infuriating. He's infuriatingly infantile, and his actions have such horrible repercussions that he refuses to take responsibility for. And I just can't, at this point in his story, there's nothing good there's no kernel to hold on to with Theon right now. Yeah. And sure, maybe later he'll have an epiphany and start to come back. But right now, the fact that he keeps saying, they gave me no choice. It was him who killed you, not me. Yeah. They gave me no choice again. Like on and on. It's like, how could... I don't understand how anybody could be Team Theon.
Yeah, because someone left a comment.
That's what I said.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
So this chapter, I think, does some work to bring us psychologically closer to Theon by having us present for his terrifying, guilt-driven nightmares. But I think it's important that we are seeing how much he's in pain and filled with anxiety. And just as you're maybe brought close to feeling some sympathy for him at the very end of the chapter, he
rapes Kira.
Yeah, sends for Kira, rapes Kira. So he's not getting any sympathy from me.
Fuck you, Theon.
Theon is like...
That's exactly what I said when you went off mic.
Theon is like Littlefinger if Littlefinger
Was an idiot.
had no patience for playing the long game and was also an idiot, yeah. Because I think Theon and Littlefinger are driven by really similar things.
Yeah, they're Winterfell.
Winterfell,
Controlling
yes.
Winterfell, yeah.
Revenge against the Starks.
Yeah. Feeling belittled by the Starks.
Yeah.
Just
Emasculated by the Starks.
This entitlement, you know.
Yeah, I had the same thought.
But Theon doesn't have time for that long con, and it blows up.
He's also delusional, because I think Littlefinger sees in being patient and seeing how things can happen over time, I think Theon is still thinking that he's going to be king after defying Balon, after somehow getting out of Winterfell. Yeah. He's still talking about
being
when I take my crown, it'll be fine.
You know what I realize is Theon, in like fucking all this shit up, is really living up to the Greyjoy house words, we do not sow. Theon isn't sowing it, he's just going for it.
That's true.
I'm just trying to reap it all at once.
Yeah.
I think that it's his sense of entitlement versus, which is contrary to the Greyjoy words. To contrast him with Littlefinger, I think Littlefinger from the outset is like, this is something I have to take.
Yeah.
And it's not mine by rights. I have to do all of these machinations in order to take this from them, where Theon is like, this is mine. I deserve it.
Yeah, and in his POV, we see his entitlement. We see his lack of self-awareness. I mean, there's like a kernel of it in like maybe should have gone with Asha, but no, it's like you said, it was your fault that you died, not mine. Like he killed you, not me. I would love to know if Littlefinger's inner monologue and perspective was more self-aware, which I'm pretty sure it would be.
How do you mean? Like, give an example.
What I'm wondering is like
In the voice.
like if Littlefinger, when he's being offered Harrenhal, for instance, if his inner monologue would be something like, "Oh, at last I'm getting what's due to me for my cunning and brilliance," or if it would be something more like, "Oh, this is something I could play and take advantage of. I'd best tread carefully, but this could be worked into my advantage." Like,
Yeah.
which would it be? And
The latter.
I'm assuming the latter. I think Littlefinger would
Given
be
how
more self-aware.
Given how patient he is, I think if he thought it was his due, he would be in more of a rush to make things happen and be more frustrated. But I think he's very happy with what's going on.
In the chat, there's a discussion about whether or not he feels like he already regrets betraying Robb. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Where's this?
This is in the chat. They're discussing.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't matter if he feels like he regrets betraying Robb. He did betray Robb, and he's still not taking responsibility for any of his actions after betraying Robb. If he says, "I betrayed Robb, and that's, oh, I shouldn't have done that," or "I should have gone with Asha," that doesn't change the fact that he's not saying,
It was
"It's
wrong
my
of me.
fault that all of these people are dead because of this." He's not saying, he's just like this. If I had gone with Asha, things would have been better for me. That's really where he's at. It's not these people would have been alive. Winterfell would have been more whole.
It would have been the right thing, or like
No, it's still from a selfish perspective of things would have been better for me if I had done this other thing, and that's why. Fuck Theon.
I think.
Oh, is Joel defending Theon?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
That's just my thesis
Hey.
statement for this section.
You can defend Theon. That's fine.
Not going to.
I'll-
Of the dreams he's having, I think it's interesting that Robb enters last into his mind. I think on a human level, and this is the reason I was saying that he approaches sympathy, but because of the end of this chapter and because of overall the things that he's done,
Sure.
does not get there for me. But the dreams he's having are about the child killing that he enabled. He didn't do it himself. Reek did, but
and then flayed their faces.
yes.
Oh.
There's so like
He
Theon's so stupid.
he is so
Well, if you're gonna play,
guilty about
play
this.
somewhere.
Just the imagery of wolves with children's heads
Yeah.
is terrifying.
Giant wolves with heads.
And also the memory of how this was done on 801. All his dreams had been cold of late, and each more hideous than the one before. Last night he dreams himself back in the mill again, on his knees, dressing the dead. Their limbs were already stiffening, so they seemed to resist sullenly as he fumbled at them with half-frozen fingers, tugging up breeches and knotting laces, yanking fur-trimmed boots over hard, unbending feet, buckling a studded leather belt around a waist no bigger than the span of his hands. Like, he's gotten his hands so dirty, and I don't think he
But
ever
even
wanted to be in this
that
position.
paragraph, he says,
This was
"They
never what I
gave me
wanted.
no choice." Who gave you no choice?
Yeah.
Reek?
Like Westeros?
Yeah,
Like
like-
what?
Oh
And-
no, I'm not defending.
Oh,
No,
I know,
no,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing textual evidence of why at this point, and again, okay, you can argue later, for later Theon, things are going to be different, but at this point in the text, he is a totally horrible character.
And speaking to his unintelligence or lack of awareness, unlikely as it seemed,
cutting my
Reek
chest.
could read and write, and was like,
Yeah.
maybe you should
Hey,
consider.
Maybe it's weird that this
No,
smelly guy can
my-
read.
There are a lot of
Yeah. Favorite-
signs.
My-
Tyrion would be like, oh, here's something that I can unravel.
Here's my favorite though point of like
just the shit on Theon.
like
hour.
Theon should have been more aware of Reek moment. Besides the flaying and that he can read and write and all these things. Later, after Asha leaves, gone has she? Reek was at his elbow. Theon had not heard him approach, nor smelled him either. Like Ramsay at this point is just like, all right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm done with this little ruse.
Yep, and
yeah,
then he takes
and Theon
off.
should be, he's so blind to Reek as a threat. Just in sheer numbers, if you have 20 or 30 or 40 men at Winterfell and hundreds come, you are just outpowered. And he believes him saying, oh, I just want the kitchen wench or the stable girl.
Yeah, that's all he wants is power.
Sure.
What a
Oh my
dummy.
I
But
also...
that's Theon thinking with his dick too. That's like, all right, I believe that.
Yeah, right? Well, that's all the guy could want,
Yeah.
is to fuck someone.
I also thought it was interesting that Theon's a piece of shit. He's also not doing well because he is more
Statement.
he's more willing to believe that Winterfell superstitiously wants him and his men dead when 3 people are murdered and they can't figure out who or why.
Ooh, question from Mary Kate Guma. Is it Reek who's killing Theon's men?
Yes.
Yes.
Not Winterfell people?
Wait.
No.
It's Reek because
He's
he's
Are we
so
sure it's
in
not
he's
OSHA?
so no, it's Reek because Theon is so paranoid about anyone else finding out that the Stark boys are not the Stark boys, that they're the Miller's kids, that he has everyone who was involved killed.
Yeah. I wish George had made that a little more clear because at one point, let me see, I should have had him killed after he did the others, bottom of 807.
Yeah.
So that alludes to Reek killing the people, the
Again,
other Ironborn
Theon
involved.
not actually doing it.
Yes, but I don't think that's he's talking about who are the ones who end up killed.
Gelmar,
Agar, and
Gnir Rednose.
yeah.
No.
I don't think that's who Theon's thinking of.
No. Those are 2 separate things. But I do think that Reek is killing those men.
Okay, I wish they had made that the first incident of Reek killing people to silence them more explicit, because why didn't he kill these 3 guys?
Here's some evidence as to why I don't think it's Reek. Because when... Hang on.
Okay, all right.
Just random Winterfellians?
No, OSHA.
You think she's coming up from the crypt?
Yeah,
to just
why not?
Take out some
That's a
people?
possibility. I had that thought as well.
Yeah.
I don't think she would risk that.
Reek.
So here's why.
Okay.
Because it stops when they kill a Winterfell person. They kill Farland. And it stops after that because the unintended consequence of OSHA thinning out the Ironborn would be that a Winterfell person got killed. Why would Reek stop?
Yeah. That's possible.
Playing the long game. I mean, like,
Also,
Reek
I-
seems to know what he's doing.
I think of interest, or just, I don't even know if it's of interest, but Farland's death is swapped out for Cassell's in the show, right? Because in the show,
Oh, yeah.
Theon has a hard time
Yeah.
hacking off Cassell's head, and here's
Yeah.
Farland, who is not a character in the show.
Yep.
Which was a huge loss, guys. Farland's my favorite.
I do like how the Ironborn names are unique and seem of a culture.
Yeah.
Like of like Erzin, Crom, a lot of hard sounds, Agar,
Ygritte.
Gelmar. Yeah.
They're very Viking.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, one more thought on the Reek thing. I think it is a point in the favor of him doing it that he's not whispering in Theon's ear about who's doing it or is not worried.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or else he might be.
Yeah,
a possible
I mean,
target.
like he
Yeah.
would be suspicious about this happening, but
Yeah,
offers
if it
no
was
explanation.
OSHA, she witnessed Reek pledge himself to Theon in that hall, because she did it right
Reek
after.
would have been a target.
So he would have been a target if it were OSHA, and he might express a
What
little bit more
what
concern.
Sansa is this?
5?
Wait, hang on. Oh, I just want to talk really quick about this semi-prophetic dream that Theon has.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Because he's with dead people, and then Robb came walking out the night, and Grey Wind stalked beside, eyes burning, and man and wolf alike bled from half a hundred savages.
He also, so he sees everyone that he knows is dead, everyone who lived in Winterfell. It's a pretty full cast. Robert's dead, Ned is dead. But he also sees Lyanna, Brandon, and Rickard.
Yeah, I think this is evidence for the interference of the weirwood bed.
Yes, this is because he's sleeping in Ned's bed, which is carved of weirwood.
Yeah.
And he's getting a weak like 2-bar signal into weirdwood.net.
Yeah.
And I think it's.
And I think this is influence. We get more explicit influence later.
There's someone else. I'm sorry. Because I wanna make note of this. He's naming these people: Fat Tom, Porther, Kane, Hullen, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Fat Tom died in King's Landing.
They
Jory
all of them
in
died in King's Landing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of the other person who went with that group who is not named here? Who?
Jory.
No, I think name's Jory.
No, is it Hal Mullen, or is that the guy with
No, he's
Hal
with
Mullen
Cat.
is with the
Cat?
Brotherhood.
Is it Hollis? Is that a guy?
I don't know.
But this could come in handy to know when we get to Winterfell later in the books,
Okay.
and there's a
Okay.
certain spooky thing going on.
Okay.
Because right now Theon is thinking of all these people, or no, he's not thinking of them. They're coming to him in a dream that, like, this dream has a factual air about it. These people are dead, but this one guy, I think it was Hollis, who also went with them down there, is not in the dream and thus may not be dead.
It's also interesting.
Okay, I'm not.
Wait, hang on. It's also interesting because.
Yes, Javier.
It's also interesting because would Theon be keeping such close track of all the people lost down in King's Landing that the Starks lost?
But this isn't his memory or thoughts. This is like.
Well, I know. I'm saying as evidence for this not being a regular kind of dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's get to Blackwater.
Sansa 5.
Sansa 5, and this is the chapter in which the Battle of Blackwater is kind of beginning proper. And she has to kiss Joff's sword.
Yeah.
That's all I wrote.
Okay.
And also Cersei starting to get drunk.
Yeah.
Really great description of Joffrey, bright, shining, and empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then, speaking of the sword kiss, she thinks he had never sounded more like a stupid little boy, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Which I adore.
He's on his second sword now, Heart Eater.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a.
Lion's Tooth was the first one. We were trying to remember that.
We
Yeah.
get before we get the fucking Joffrey. Before we get that, we have a nice kind of interchange with Tyrion, where he says, "This day may change all for you as well as for House Lannister. I ought to have sent you off with Tommen. Now that I think on it, still you would be safe enough in Maegor so long as." And then Joffrey cuts him off. I think that's Tyrion expressing real sympathy and concern over Sansa, and I think beyond just her value as a hostage. I think I could be projecting.
I think so. In the show, isn't there a line where she's like, I wish you as much safety as I wish Joffrey, or something along those
Yeah.
lines, which is like kind of heart-wrenching when it happens, but it's not in the book at all? She doesn't have that little snark?
No, I don't think so. Not
No.
to Tyrion here, but
That's
it's
cool.
because she's interrupted by
Yeah, by Joffrey.
Joffrey.
She's also, in tracking how she refers to him, the last Sansa chapter, she referred to him as the Imp.
Yeah.
And here he's referred to as Tyrion, which I think shows a small bit of softening.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that when she sings for everyone she cares about, that she is, giving some small thought, I believe, to him and the Hound as well. On 8:15, she even sang
Yeah.
for Tyrion, the Imp, and for the Hound.
Yeah, I really like save him if you can and gentle the rage inside of him. Speaking of the Hound, which I really like. He's no true knight, but he saved me all the same. Which was good.
I appreciate that we see that she still believes in the gods. In the last chapter with the Hound, they had a discussion about stories and gods and how for Sandor, the gods were as fictional as the stories of heroes and knights. And I think that was a hint at if Sansa stops believing in one, that she could stop believing in the other, and just kind of, what else does she have if that whole thing is destabilized? So I was glad to see that she's still holding on to this.
Her faith is not shaken yet.
I really like how Sansa has the same kind of thought that Cersei does concerning Joffrey going into battle. She says, "Will you lead your knights into battle?" Sansa asks, hoping, knowing that if that were the case, Joffrey would likely end up dead. She even goads him with, "They say my brother Robb always goes where the fighting is thickest, though he's older than your grace, to be sure, and a man grown," which is so great.
Taking a little bit of a risk there.
Yeah.
Well, she does say recklessly.
She said recklessly.
Yeah.
Hey, Chelsea, Mary Kate Guma's asking, what do you think of Cersei's white dress in these scenes?
I had the
Oh,
same
I
yeah.
question.
also considered, like,
Yeah.
what do you think of this?
And then there was another question about Cersei earlier talking about how. So I guess we can talk about both of those things at once because I think they're like a little related.
What?
Cersei telling Sansa like, "Oh, we're all gonna get raped," but then Javier points out Stannis doesn't allow his men to rape.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the deal? Like, does she not know, or is she just saying shit?
I
I
don't
think
think she
she's
knows.
just.
I think Tyrion has stoked fears so
Yeah.
that everyone is invested in defending themselves.
I think even if Cersei knew, I think she would still play that up because I think she likes terrorizing everyone. I
Especially
think she
Sansa.
likes terrorizing Sansa. And yeah, the white dress is very interesting. I didn't think about that, but yeah, it's like very virginal.
What do you think versus the breastplate from the show? Because I think I love that costume
I
decision.
love the breastplate so much. It's so cool because I like the choice of changing it to the breastplate because she wants to like be in the shit. Like she wants to be like I don't think she wants to be fighting, but she wants to be like how Tywin does, where Tywin hangs in the back and is like kind of there symbolically. I think she wants that to be her so
It's a much more
badly.
masculine position.
It's yeah, and she's like doing it the best that she can inside.
I
It's like
Yeah, I think this is as good a place as any to stir up some shit.
yeah.
We were
Cersei secret target?
Yeah.
We were talking a little bit off mic before we started, where I like Blackwater
Oh.
better in the show.
No, I think that's Davos is when we talk about that.
Okay,
Tyrion.
but I think it's apt to. We don't have to get into it yet, but I think it's apt here. I think knowing that George wrote Blackwater, that there are certain things that he
episode.
chose. Yes, the episode Blackwater. There are certain things where he was like, okay, this could be a chance to maybe make some small improvements. And I wonder if something like the breastplate and that connection to Tywin, like you mentioned, is one of those things. We can get into other things later, but eviscerate me, chat, book people.
No, I think like the white is just it's like virginal, you know? Like that's how I see it at least. Even though obviously
yeah.
that's not how Cersei sees herself, but I think it's like this image she wants to have.
Sure.
Yeah, I think this whole chapter is about what women's roles are when the men go to fight, to see them off, to pray for them, to hold your head high. Cersei is, George talks about the air being heavy with the knowledge of husbands, sons, fathers, brothers not returning from battle. So she is just fulfilling a duty that she has to because of her gender of hosting everyone there. And I think maybe it's that white is also to go along with just another role that as a woman she would have to fulfill.
I wonder if it's almost like a Jaime thing. Because it's white with dagged sleeves that have gold. And it's almost like a Kingsguard kind of.
Oh.
Also, I think it's an image of herself that like if she gets captured and has to deal with Stannis, she knows she can't appeal to him sexually. I wonder if part of her is like, what's gonna make me look the most innocent? What's gonna sway him to not have me killed?
Or if she is serious about Ellen Payne's purpose there, what she wants to look good dying in.
For sure. No, like what's like the best image of like the terrible Stannis beheading like the innocent queen in white, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Davos. We got 3 chapters left. Davos is definitely the meat of the remaining pages.
Yes.
Because the last 2 chapters are pretty short. And Davos is
Which
like...
Davos is this?
This is Davos 3. And this is Blackwater proper. This is the battle.
A lot
This
of
is,
boats.
A lot of boats. That's my one
Lot of
complaint about this
boats.
chapter is the first third or so of it. Just seems like it's listing boats.
Oh, I love it. I love the
no-
talk of strategy here.
No, I love the strategy when they're actually in the shit. But before that, when it's like why is he talking so much about Swordfish and the captain of Swordfish? Who is that?
I like this. I like the stuff actually before they get in because it's all he's thinking about what he would do and what Sir Emery Florent is doing.
Yeah.
And how it just prepares you for how wrong this battle goes. And
That's
I think
great.
there are specifics that help highlight that.
Absolutely. But when you get to 824, on the port and starboard wings were the hundreds. Lady Hara, Brightfish, Laughing Lord, Sea Demon, Horned Honor, Ragged Jenna, Trident 3, Swift Sword, Princess Rhaenys, Dog's Nose, Scepter,
read it
Faithful,
like
Red
that.
Raven, Queen Elisane, Cat, Courageous, and Dragon's Bane. Why?
so fun.
Why was that there? And why are so many of these ships named Lady something or another? Please, George, I'm trying to keep track of them, but there's like 5 different lady ships, and you're making it hard, man.
You'd be frustrated by a lot of passages in the Bible, I think.
Oh, I am. The Bible is horribly written. It is one of the worst written things I've ever tried to read.
For me, the listing of ships comes back at the end of the chapter when basically everything goes to shit with Wildfire. And I like that the list is strength at the beginning and then just devastation at the end.
I guess, but who doesn't check out in the middle of that paragraph? Who actually reads those names and commits them to memory?
I skimmed them later, but when we first get them, I enjoy it from Davos's character's perspective. I've mentioned before about Davos chapters about how into like chivalry Davos is, and how much Davos pays attention to things like which ship certain people have and their position in the pecking order of things, and how he relates that to his own insecurities. And I think that it's important to note that Davos is paying attention to all of that. I also think it's important that Davos can retain all of this information and make sense of it, and has this good sense of tactics and pointing out how all these things are wrong. Davos is smarter than all of them, but he doesn't have the education. He can't read or write, but he's inherently more intelligent. And I think that's something that's really important to get through in his character. So I like all that detail in this. I like Davos talking about how bad this can all go, and this is one of the things that I do think is better in the book than in the show of Blackwater. Obviously, all the tactics here in the naval battle and all of the specifics of it. There's no chain in the show, which is a drag.
Yeah.
But when we get certain things like Davos isn't the leader of the battle, and he's pointing out why all these things are flawed, and we, of course, it creates a great sense of dramatic irony for us as readers, because we know about the chain and we know about the wildfire. So this whole time where Davos is like, this isn't good, I have a bad feeling about this, we're like, yeah, it's not good, you're right, Davos. Mm-hmm. And then an interesting thing that is another difference from this show, it was Lord Bryce Caron who pointed out to Stannis that if the sorceress is with us afterwards, men will say it was her victory, not yours. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the show, it's Davos. So I like that that's not Davos's fault either.
I like that too, and I think both of these cases are instances of Stannis letting his insecurity rule him, because he took Storm's End because he needed Edric Storm, but also because he didn't want to be said that he was defeated there. And then he didn't want to be said that he was helped in his victory by magic, by this priestess. And in both cases, he's caring about how he wins when he just needs to win by any means. And with Davos, he is going with class over experience and savvy, because he knows King's Landing and he knows the bay like the back of his hand.
And I like that he carries the metaphor out to be like, oh, these 2 new towers are like new knuckles sprouting out of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
Davos is bad.
I don't know, I just find it confusing when he's like, yes, they're far to the south, that could only be Swordfish lagging as ever, Though Davos had grave doubts about her captain, we've never heard of swordfish. We've never met this captain. We never do. It's just like this random fact that is addressed so casually and familiarly that it made me think I missed something. I was like, oh, is the captain of swordfish like a guy who Davos has talked about before and has like, no, it's an unnamed guy and nothing ever happens with it.
Yeah, it does.
I mean,
setting up the fact that Swordfish is the ship that hits the wildfire bomb boat. All of this is set. All the Swordfish talk is setting up that moment. So you're keeping track in all the.
I guess I was paying attention to Swordfish.
You're paying
after
attention
that.
to Swordfish.
And then Swordfish goes and fucks it all
The
up.
like other naval battles of like Lady Whatever hitting Lady Whatever with Lady Whatever in the middle is like, okay, fine, that's
Lady
a cool
Whatever's
little.
right.
But then you're tracking Swordfish, so even,
All right.
you know, that's
I'll
good
concede
writing.
that point. Sure.
I skimmed the fuck out of this chapter, so I don't know how much I'm
okay.
able to talk because I was like, I still have so much more reading. I know how Blackwater ends. I don't know if there's any weird foreshadowing that's happening because of boats. Like, I read it, but I didn't absorb much of it.
I just want to go through the Florent versus the Seaworth strategies.
Florence.
So the reason that they're late is because, on the one hand, they lost a couple ships coming out of Shipbreaker Bay. There was a storm that scattered them, and so Imry Florent is rushing to get there because Stannis will be waiting for several days, wondering where the ships are. And he's thinking that, okay, sheer numbers will carry the day, offset any surprises. So unlike Davos would want, he's not going to scout ahead and see what's going on. He's not going to notice a chain boom because these are things that Davos notices, but literally the line is, well, we're literally going too fast on our ship. We have to blow right by it. Davos would have also taken the time after regrouping to check and see, what's different. Hopefully they cannot meet in the bay. They can meet on the open sea because their numbers will mean less. So he's relying on numbers, but he's putting himself in a situation where those numbers don't mean anything. Also, I think it's telling that Davos doesn't wear steel at sea, and the other captains all do.
Yeah.
That's a stupid thing to do.
To wear steel.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
keep getting mentions of like men who are wearing plates sink.
Yeah, just sink and drown.
He does wear a helm. There's a couple things I want to point out about Davos in battle. So he's talking about they're fighting the Kingslander, the enemy's Kingslander, and he sees the Kingslander's captain fall and tried to recall the man's name. That's on 8:30,
Yeah,
and
I
then
underlined
later, when Black Betha's crew boards the White Hart, Davos fought through the press looking for the other captain, but the man was dead before he reached him. So Davos's concern is to fight the other captain in single combat.
Yeah, captain to captain.
Yeah, because that is the honorable thing to do in a naval fight. And I just really love that little detail about Davos and his belief in how this should go. He's very concerned about these types of honorable things, even though he views himself as not an honorable necessarily man because he's a smuggler. I love that his son keeps calling him Captain Sir.
Yeah, Mathis.
Yeah.
Which son makes it to the show?
This son.
Mathis?
Yes.
But he's given the role of like...
All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget which son is like, in the books is like the super religious one, and the differences between them. I know them in a previous Davos chapter, but it's been too long.
And then the wildfire.
Yeah, Wildfire is loosed, and he's...
And the chain.
Yeah, he's trying to keep away from it.
So with the chain, it keeps the boats
Keeps
in,
them in, yeah.
and then
They
it just
can't turn
creates this
around.
like this wall of flaming.
They're literally
shipwrecks.
just like trapped in this fiery,
hell.
like, yeah, because they're all just smushed in there, and so when the chain goes up, they can't go back. So.
Yeah, there's no reference point for what this looks like to them. They're like their descriptions of the wildfire being a demon, that this is
Yeah.
hell. Because think about the way it went up on the show. Like it would be like that with just more ships exploding all around him. Like
yeah,
the
there's
description.
like several.
Yeah, the swirling demon of green flame dancing upon the river is just a terrifying image. And his fear when he realizes the chain is up. I mean, if you're reading this, Gressel, I mean, maybe your first time, did you feel like Davos is done?
No.
You thought he would survive?
I thought he would survive.
Okay.
I did not think that Davos was done. I thought it would have been a strange choice for George to give us 3 chapters of a dude who's clearly capable, and then have him just go because the other thing is that he survives the blast, and then George points out how savvy he is to grab. First of all, to not wear armor.
Yep.
Second of all, to grab some driftwood. I thought that he would get away, and he points out how he will get away basically, and like the chain is a threat, but it's a threat more to the larger ships than just one single man.
Yeah. I like that he compares it when Swordfish finally blows up from wildfire. She bursts like an overripe fruit, which is, of course, what the pyromancers refer to.
Yeah.
The wildfire as like the jars are fruit.
I love that. I love that description as well of the sound. Then he heard a short, sharp woof, as if someone had blown in his ear.
Yes.
And then just ships are gone. His ship is gone. This list of ships are gone.
I'm just imagining like the air pressure changing.
Well, it's
and then it explodes.
it's the short sharp woof, and then half a heartbeat later came the roar. So it's like it's such a great description of a explosion.
And like this description of the swirling demon of green flame was so so intense that for a second I was like, wait a minute, are they using magic to like control this? When it gets the demon ran a lazy green finger across her silvery oars and they flared up, like I guess it's just from his perspective what it looks like.
Yeah,
but it seems almost magical and intentional and controlled.
They just have no way to describe it. Like it had a dozen hands, in each a whip, and whatever they touched burst into fire.
Yeah, that seems really intentional. But then in the next chapter, the Tyrion chapter, we see it from his perspective. It's like, oh, this shit's out of control. Like you see for sure that it's not something that they're using. You all right there? Okay.
Yeah, let's keep the battle going. Moving into Tyrion. Are we good?
Are we good?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. The chain. The show should have had the chain.
Show should
Chain's
have had
cool.
the chain.
Oh gods, they've raised the chain.
The chain is such an important image to what this battle is too. It's what wins them the naval battle, the wildfire and the chain, like the 1-2 punch.
Because it traps them into that fire.
And it keeps reinforcements from coming. Davos sees Salladhor Saan's ships beyond, and he knew he would never reach them.
Yeah.
You know. So if without the chain, wildfire takes out that first volley, and then Salladhor Saan comes in, and so the chain is very important.
Oh, you want to pull up that map though of this whole thing?
Just because get it. It's
just
kind
that
of
one.
a shitty map.
No, it's okay.
There's got to be a better one.
But
There
this
is a
one's
better one.
this one's descriptive enough for me because for me, when I think of the bay, I think of it as like I guess a gulf. I was thinking of the Gulf of Blackwater, where it's this like circular body of water that has a tip at King's Landing, and then that's it. But here, it's obvious that there's the Blackwater Rush, which is like the river that goes south of King's Landing, and so it's not just I can't obviously I can't go over it, but. See where that chain is, I thought would have been the end of the bay. I thought it would have been like a gulf like that. But instead, it's this bay that leads into the rush. And so the ships, make it past the chain?
They go.
You want me to put it above?
They move from right to left.
They move from
On
right
this
to left, from
picture.
F towards H.
Yes, because they're going there to
That's what I thought.
pick
Because
up
they
all
move
Stannis'
past
dudes.
the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So once they get past 1, which is the chain, they bring up the chain, right?
Yeah.
They
And then-
start,
Tyrion
they
talks
start
about
to
how
when the
once
first
they
ship comes.
They start pulling it up when the first.
Okay, so here's a question. Why didn't Stannis' Camp 2 there on the south shore do anything about G, which is the southern chain wench?
I don't think they knew it existed.
Okay, sure. So the plan was to get the ships past where the initial battle is, say I, and to go pick up Stannis' camps at H and G, and then to transport them to the
I think
north.
also to clear the way for like rafts and stuff to get across.
Okay.
Yep.
You know?
And then I believe at A is where there's like a bunch of
some of the first
ships.
landings.
Well, no, there's a bunch of like ship hulls so that they can't land there. Correct? That's where Tyrion like burned a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then B must be the gate.
That is the gate. That's the is that the mud
Mud
gate?
Gate?
Yeah. And that's where
Mud
in
Gate.
this chapter Tyrion is heading to, right? It's the mud gate that's
Yeah.
getting
So let's do that.
knocking on the door.
Tyrion 13.
Yeah, and if you look at the back of your, this is a pretty similar map to the map that's
It
in the
is.
back of your mass market paperback.
Yes, on page. I mean, don't spoil yourself because it's after the last page, but it would be 971.
This is Tyrion 13.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Maps. I love maps. Another comparison of Tyrion to the gargoyle.
We're almost there, guys.
Almost there. And yeah, this is Tyrion like checking out the battle from afar and having to listen to Joffrey bitch about things, and then going down to the mud gate where they're starting to try to get in, and when Sandor Clegane gets all scared about fire,
Yeah. Peace.
Tyrion has to lead.
I want
Yeah.
to point out something about Joffrey because you mentioned I don't know. You mentioned something about Joffrey.
He said he was bitching about things.
Yes. So when I read this chapter earlier, much in advance of book club today, definitely not this morning.
Is that a lie, Grussel?
It might be a lie.
Ooh.
Uh,
is this slappy time?
It's truthy smacky.
Smacky. That's right.
So I thought there's this paragraph at the bottom of 838. My ships, Joffrey's voice cracked as he shouted up from the windwalk. This is seeing them burning after the wildfire. My Kingslander's burning, Queen Cersei, loyal man. When I read this earlier, I thought he said loyal men, like there were loyal men being killed.
No,
But
yeah.
no, he's
No.
concerned about his ships.
Yeah, man.
And he's not concerned about the people who are dead.
To be fair, neither is Tyrion. He's not
But
concerned about
Tyrion's
them.
not concerned about it from a tactics point of view.
Yeah,
He's
but
like-
Tyrion does send these people to die. Like
Yeah.
he knows for sure that they're gonna probably get burned to death,
Yeah.
and like he's just sacrificing these people.
Yes.
And he also states that the fleet was doomed in any case. At least they were put to good use.
I guess, yeah.
In terms of emotions that Joffrey is feeling, I also appreciated that on 840, Tyrion says that he can go work the trebuchets, and Joffrey hurried off happy because he gets to fling the men. He gets to fling men with antlers nailed to their heads.
Yeah.
Naked.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And those were just like rival merchants of Littlefinger's.
No,
they
they
were
also were
Stannis
treasonous.
They
Stannis.
were
They
actually
were-
doing that? Okay.
Yeah, they were actually Stannis supporters.
Alright.
Yeah, it was Varys who informed on them, so I don't think Littlefinger was well gone enough to try and influence that.
Yeah, but Tyrion's like, but we'll want those trebuchets throwing rocks soon enough.
Run along.
Yeah.
Fling
Yeah.
your people.
Are these
Oh, sorry.
guys still alive?
Antler
No,
men?
he's
Not-
they're
not
killed.
now.
They're,
The nailing
yeah,
would
the
do
nailing
that.
of the
I don't
antlers
know.
to their
Oh.
heads.
Oh.
You could
No, I thought that.
maybe survive. You'd be like fucked up.
You'd be
but-
like Phineas Gage.
yeah.
Oh, I had assumed that they were going to fling him alive.
Either way, it's bad.
Yeah. It's
Bad.
At the
vomit.
beginning of the chapter, I appreciated that Tyrion is admiring his handiwork, but it's a terrible beauty, he says, and that he wondered if Aegon the Conqueror had felt like this above the field of fire,
Yeah.
because it's
Mhm.
like Davos. This is an image that no one has ever seen before, and he describes the wildfire reduced the burning pitch that had been flaming before to no more than candles in a burning house, their orange and scarlet pennants flustering insignificantly against the jade holocaust.
Oh,
I love that use of Holocaust.
Jade Holocaust.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, Tyrion comparing himself to Aegon the Conqueror.
Well, because he's a secret Tar.
Notable Targaryen.
Oh boy.
And comparing himself to Aegon the Conqueror, specifically when he's flying on a dragon.
A dragon, yeah.
You know?
We get the breaking of Sandor Clegane.
Yeah, and it seems a little less pronounced here than in the show.
There's
Well,
no
But he
fuck the
doesn't
king.
say fuck
Yeah,
the
there's
king.
no
I
fuck
know,
the king.
we don't get the fuck the king, which is another criticism I have. That seems like
At least there's
another revision.
fuck your water, bring me wine.
Great.
There's Bugger the King's hand, which is okay.
We had I mocked up at my wedding. We had napkins with quotes from stuff we like on them, and I mocked up "fuck your water, bring me wine," and Eric was like, "No."
But we don't even get to see the Hound run
React to it. That,
away. Like he doesn't.
yeah,
Yeah. We just see him laugh at Tyrion, and then Tyrion be like,
I know.
I do miss Joffrey reacting to
Yeah.
because that's great in the show.
When
His
Oh.
face just
when
sinks.
he like, runs away. Yeah.
Also, as you mentioned, Tyrion's speech is much better in the show.
Yes, it's
Oh,
well.
yeah.
That feels like that's the most like I get a second chance at this
Yeah.
moment.
Let's go kill
that
them.
speech comes later.
No, that's
What?
here.
No, there's more. This is one part of his memorable speech. His other memorable speech is later.
Really?
Yeah, there's more. There, yeah, that.
Oh, is that literally the next chapter of
I don't-
next
Oh
week's
shit!
reading?
Yeah, it's the first chapter because I see them.
Well, then
shouting
forget
Team
everything I
Halfman.
said. I just miss Lena Headey.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. Well, are you right? I don't see. Let's go.
No,
Kill
it's
them.
not in Sansa, but
No,
I think
I know,
think
I'm
later in
looking
the
through.
Tyrion chapter it's there.
Let's go
we'll
kill
get,
them.
There are
we'll
brave
get,
men out
we'll
there,
get
let's
to
go kill
it
them.
when we
Okay.
get to it.
Okay.
Oh, yep, you're right.
Okay.
I
Alright.
like that this is another instance. We've seen a progression over Tyrion chapters of him putting himself more and more at risk when he sees no other solution for the protection of the city. Like he's been divesting himself of guards, of the clansmen,
Yeah.
in ways that he knows will protect the city. And so this is his last option. He's going to this is the ultimate way he can do that, and he's going to go out there himself.
Mm-hmm. And it's him using, the image of what he knows people see him as. They say I'm half a man. What does that make the lot of you?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, he doesn't like to relish in that opinion of him, but he can use it to his advantage in cases like this.
Yeah, and he turns around and he hopes that the men behind him will catch up to him.
Yeah, I like that.
Relish. Sorry.
Okay.
I really like that he's just.
Mustard had a good plan going out there.
There we go.
They're really in a pickle.
I quit this show. I love that image of Tyrion just going and not worrying about anybody following him.
Yeah.
He knows he has no choice, and it doesn't matter what the result is. He has to try.
Yeah, that's weirdly enough, that's almost like the hobbits running out into battle in
Yeah.
Return of the King.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, fuck yeah, we're going.
Yeah.
I mean, different motivations, very much, but I liked in this chapter how, with Tyrion going out and with Tyrion's gambit, he's, I don't know, Gressel, you might appreciate this, but he's kind of playing the Kobayashi Maru, and this is a no-win scenario, because he thinks because even when it works, it's not enough.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean, he has no choice at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, one more book difference in the show. Stannis was watching too. Tyrion knew he'd never had his brother Robert's thirst for battle. He would command from the rear, from the reserve, much as Lord Tywin Lannister was wont to do. In the show, Stannis is right there,
right up
and I think
there.
it's dumb in the show because you see him charging up, and then the guy next to him gets his head blown up by a rock, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what if that rock had been? I think it's much smarter and more in character for Stannis to do what he does
To
in the
hang
book.
back, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, George wrote Blackwater the episode.
Well,
so.
I mean, you kind of had to have
I guess.
Stannis up,
Because then it's like you cut to Stannis.
yeah,
And then
you
cut
have
back to
show it.
battle.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense to me in the show, and it's always sat poorly with me, even from the first time I watched it. It's like he gets so far in there, and then has to get out, and he gets out
Yeah.
alive, and he's fine.
Yeah, he's like on the wall.
Yeah, he's like on the wall,
Yeah.
and then
Cuts
has
that
to
dude's
retreat.
face in half, which is
Oh,
awesome.
that's right. It's so graphic.
Okay.
Oh.
Show book differences aside, it's a great episode
It's
of
a great
television.
Oh, it's fantastic.
All right.
All right.
Sansa 6. We made it.
We did it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is more of Sansa, Cersei.
Yeah, time for
Yeah.
another Lannister treatise.
This is
is
pretty
on.
close to the show.
Yeah.
Which is great.
This is her thoughts on gender.
Yeah.
Yeah. With her eyes of wildfire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very subtle.
Sansa doesn't even know about the wildfire when that's mentioned.
So about gender.
On gender.
On gender.
I thought it was interesting that this is a starker comparison than we got in the show. I don't remember if it was exactly mentioned. It was not intended. Rare instance. But when they were so young, they looked so similar that they dressed as one another. And I think to have a twin reinforces her, or maybe that is the cause of her seeing these differences so clearly, and that she gets nothing just to be used by other people.
This sense of
Yeah.
unfairness.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're the same. Literally, we're the same. Like, you couldn't even tell us apart. And yet, he gets a sword.
What do I get?
Yeah.
Her selfishness and her concern about power and control and the whole Lannister thing with wealth. I mean, there's so much in that one. What do I get?
Yeah.
You know.
And, I mean, with Rosby coughing, the gods must have been mad to waste manhood on the likes of
I
him.
love that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that guy gets to be a man. I don't.
Yeah, he's not even
What a lot of
worthy of
bullshit.
being the powerful gender.
Yeah.
And I really like how all this is, like when she compares the women to hens, and then of themselves the hens are nothing, but their cocks are important for one reason or another. Cock being both a rooster and a penis.
Yeah.
They only have value through their husbands to her.
She, like, really uses, like, woman as kind of a slur, because she's like, these women are here because their husbands and fathers are important. They're not anything. They're not people. And then, like, pretty soon after, she's like, you're, like, try not to sound so like a mouse, Sansa. You're a woman now, remember? I don't think she's saying that as, like, you're grown now. You're a grown up. You're, like, no, you're a woman now. Like, you're not anything to me still.
Yeah.
You know?
You're just a woman.
You're just a woman. Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, tears are not a woman's only weapon. You've got another one between your legs.
Yep.
Definitely her ideology on what can you do as a woman.
Yeah, which is why she's so annoyed that it's Stannis.
Yeah, she'd have a better time seducing his horse.
Yep.
Hey, I mean, better Stannis than Renly?
Yeah, she was fucked either way.
Yeah.
Or
But not.
Oh.
But not.
I love.
She forces the wine on Sansa.
Yeah.
What's the term? Is it bootlicker?
Bootlicker?
Is that the term?
It's like a brown noser.
Yeah. I love how much of a bootlicker fucking Osney Kettleblack is.
yeah.
Well, he's like, oh, your grace, the king, he spoke to the archers on the boardings before and gave them a few tips on handling a crossbow, he did. All agree, he's a right brave boy. Like, yeah, I'm sure those archers appreciate Joffrey.
Joffrey being like, no, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, I like the voice that George gives the Kettleblacks. They have the
Your
kind
grace.
of lowborn.
Yeah.
He did. You know, he gave him a few tips on crossbow. He did.
Yeah, and like Sansa's never heard of them.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
who are
Yeah.
these
Where did they
guys?
come from
Yeah.
if they're so brave?
Yeah.
Where did they
and they're
come from?
everywhere. They came from. They came from.
We're
They.
good. Okay.
You gotta remember that when you make noises, they all hear it too.
Well, good.
I really, yeah. What was I gonna say? Sansa thinks if I am ever queen, I'll make them love me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another reiteration of this ruling from fear or ruling from love debates that they discussed a little bit last time, that Tyrion wants to be loved. I wonder if Sansa will ever change her mind about this. And if she'll try and rule from fear. I don't know, it's introduced in a way that I want to track later.
And then another case of Cersei thinking she has everything figured out. I know all about your little treasons in the Godswood.
Yeah.
And then it's just
Sansa's
like,
You're
"What?"
praying.
yeah, you're praying against us. And Sansa's like, oh, Cool.
And
Yeah.
good for Sansa for not immediately just telling what was
confessing,
up.
yeah.
She-
Yeah.
Well, what do you know?
Sansa, she does have a little bit of savvy. I mean, she keeps reinforcing the lie of "I pray for Joffrey," but, and then then we get the confession of Ilyn's here to kill us in case we lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is going scorched earth on the Starks and Stannis if the battle goes badly.
I really like the image at the end where she reached out and touched Sansa's hair, brushing it lightly away from her neck.
Yeah.
Like,
Ooh,
oh,
that's great.
it's so intense.
I love when like the singer starts singing and Sansa starts to well up, and Cersei's just like, "Good, you're practicing how to cry," because Cersei doesn't have feelings.
Like, they'll believe you're a
Ooh,
human.
very good, yeah.
And Cersei's like clearly drunk, and then she says, "No more. I must keep a clear head on 8:49."
I'm good.
Yeah.
After slurring her words.
She has this. This is in the same paragraph as "What Do I Get?" Where she says of Jaime, comparing herself to Jaime, he was heir to Casterly Rock, while I was to be sold to some stranger like a horse, to be ridden whenever my new owner liked, beaten whenever he liked, and cast aside in time for a younger filly. There's a lot to unpack in that sentence. Obviously, the bitterness towards Tywin for making the match in the first place. The violence Robert, inflicted on her. And there's a mention, I think, an allusion for sure to the prophecy. Yeah.
Cast aside for a young filly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I was just seeing it as the rumors of Renly trying to bring up Marjorie for.
I don't know
her.
if
I
she
don't think
knew
she's
about that
aware
at
of
all.
that. Yeah. I think if she were aware of that, she would be a lot less inclined to.
Of course.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I like the change in the show of Lancel being the messenger. I think it's really funny.
Well, yeah, once you get rid of the kettle black.
Especially when he comes in and is like, "Hey, like, here's what Joffrey's up to." And she's like, "Oh, bring him back inside." And he's like, "But everyone's going to think he's a giant baby." And it's, he just can't reason with her. And it's so funny.
She's fatalistic, and I think is waiting for this battle to fail, and I think she doesn't realize that she is possibly causing it to by doing that.
Well, I think in the chapters that have led up to Blackwater, they don't think they're going to win. Like I think that they've Tyrion's conceded that they're probably going to lose. Cersei definitely, I agree, has a fatalistic attitude. I think that they've pretty much given up for Lost, and they're just doing their best to maybe it'll work out okay.
I mean, it goes back and forth, but in this chapter, Cersei says, well, if Tyrion's heading out there, then we're fucked.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? All right, next week's reading, we will be wrapping up A Clash of Kings.
Woo! So just read till the end.
Tyrion 14, page 852.
Through...
Bran 7. And is that the next Bran chapter? Like, we don't get a Bran since he disappeared?
Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
Bran 7?
It is Bran 7, and it ends on page 969, a.k.a. the end of the book. So another big-ish reading, 127 pages. Sorry. But we got through this one okay. 2.5 hours?
Yeah. It's about par for the course. Some of these last few are short chapters.
Yeah, that Tyrion was pretty short.
Yeah.
I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we are. I really like Clash, and I'm excited. I was telling Gressel that everyone loves Storm, and the first time I read through it, I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was like significantly better than the other books. And I'm wondering if that was only because I started reading it right after having watched season 3, which covers a lot of Clash and swords, and maybe that I was like, oh, I just saw this stuff.
Sure.
So, but I'm excited for it because seems to be everyone's consensus favorite.
Yes, I think so.
I'm excited for that. I'm more excited for Feast and Dance, as I continuously say, just because they're so different from the books.
Remember.
Yeah, I don't remember so much of them.
I'm excited for differences.
Yeah.
things are as different as you are alluding to.
Feast and
excited.
dance.
Even
Yeah.
Storm, things are about to get pretty different.
And things have
Like-
been getting different in Jon and Bran's chapters
Already?
the storylines already. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how that plays out, especially
Things-
with the
yeah.
Reeds already there.
Yeah.
There's some things in the Riverlands start to diverge, even in Storm, and you know, we're gonna get some. We're gonna meet Oberyn Martell.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, we'll talk more about that next week.
Just a few notes. Yesterday we released Drunk Disney Fox and the Hound. Check that out. Patrick Dougal was our guest. We got real silly. In 2 weeks, I think we'll put out the sequel to that, Fox and the Hound 2. So that was ridiculous. This Saturday, a week from yesterday, is a Drunk Disney live stream of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Big one, big movie with Brock Baker as the guest. We're very excited. He's a very funny guy. Love his voiceover work. We also have Power Hour coming out a week from Wednesday.
Oh
Wow.
God,
That's
really?
102.
Yeah.
So I got you those audios
Yes.
right now, and then could you look at 103 today? And so yeah, we have starting next Wednesday, not this Wednesday. You're gonna get 9 weeks in a row of a new episode of Power Hour, starting with each one of them has a different guest, and the first one will be Sansa,
Shansha.
played by Catelyn, going postal. So I hope you're excited for that. We're very excited for all the things coming. We've gotten a lot of comments about when the next Drunk Star Wars is. A lot of comments about when that is. Hopefully this month.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's a lot going on. And I just had to work a 10-hour day yesterday on my Saturday, so that doesn't help.
real work,
Yeah, like real,
Job.
job.
day job.
Yes.
As always, there's a link in the description below to our Patreon page. If you like what you see here and all of our other stuff and want to see it improved, please consider making a contribution to our Patreon for as little as $1 a month, $12 a year. You can make a huge impact to our on our channel, and there are different rewards at different levels, including at a certain level, I forget what, you get some behind-the-scenes videos. Our next of which will come out with the release of Power Hour, because it's a behind-the-scenes Power Hour video, and I can't release it ahead of Power Hour because
All
it's
right.
got spoilers.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us. This is a fun part of the week, and we hope it is for you guys too. Next week we'll finish Clash of Kings, but until then, I'm James.
I'm James.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Joel.
This has been
What's in these books? What is it?
Bye, guys.
Bye.